Chapter 919. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva put his palms together and said solemnly, "I'm afraid I have to give up this body to get rid of this karma. The great locust tree country suffered because it provided for me, and now it's being schemed against by the immeasurable heavenly Lord. I have to give up my life to repay the great locust tree country's good karma. I also have to suffer the insect bite to resolve the evil karma and restore peace. Brothers, I'm free." Samantabhadra put his palms together and said, "All the sins are mine." Then he turned back to the great locust tree country's palace. At that moment, tens of thousands of ants had voluntarily thrown themselves into the flesh and blood fungus carpet that the queen had transformed into. They were all devoured, providing a large amount of carbon-based substances. There were still ants surging in from all directions, wanting to become one with the queen. A thick fungus carpet had already covered the entire palace. Only the place where Chunong was had a large empty circle. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva came to the entrance of the palace and saw the purplish-red ground. It was the fungus-like tissue formed by the flesh and blood fungus. He could only sigh and walk into the fungus carpet. The queen of the Zerg had chosen the occupation of the queen nest. She controlled her own people to become one with her. While she was cleansing the remaining influence from Samantabhadra's enlightenment, she raised her body to become one with the Zerg, creating the collective consciousness of the Zerg. Notifications from the Zerg evolution system kept ringing in her ears. Evolution points plus 10, evolution points plus 15. Every time an ant melted in the fungus carpet, it would provide her with a bit of evolution point. In the interface before her, the queen of the great locust tree skillfully opened the genetic technology, biochemical technology tree. She first spent 10 evolution points on a brain tissue memory enzyme protein, then on a neuron cell mutation, electronic pulse, as well as nervous system optimization and glial cell mutation, cell repair. She spent 1,000 evolution points to open the first level of the neuron and glial mutation skill tree. After choosing the route of the nerve axon's electrical impulse, the first technology system of the central nervous biochemical technology finally appeared, protein neurocomputer technology. The nervous system of the queen's entire body began to undergo extremely complicated changes. The complicated central nervous system that spread to all the nervous system tissues in the fungus carpet created a heterogeneous network of nerves, completing the basic structure of the neurocomputer. Then, the algorithm of consciousness was changed, and the algorithm of personality consciousness carried by Samantabhadra was modified. The gene cell consciousness carried by Chun Ong completely changed along with the queen's nervous system. Everything that was based on this began the most fundamental change in the structure and template of the brain's consciousness from the very bottom. But at this time, the queen was still a kind of insectoid that had just evolved to become sentient like humans, and the development of civilization and biochemical technology was relatively low. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva stepped into the fungal carpet with the awareness of abandoning his body. A large amount of fungal tissues immediately wrapped around his body below his thighs like mucus. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva could feel countless tiny tentacles peeling off his flesh, analyzing his genetic information and cellular consciousness. They were absorbing power from his body. As if he was wading through water, he walked towards the center of the palace, where Chenong was. Flesh and blood were stripped from his body, and soon his lower limbs revealed white bones and yellow tendons. Even though he had lost the ability to move biologically, Samantabhadra was still slowly moving forward. The fungal tissue that had gathered had already drowned his chest and was about to envelop him. His jade-like, glowing bones were also being eroded by the queen. Plus 10,000, plus 6,000, plus 14,000, the moment Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's flesh and blood melted, the queen's consciousness began to click on the second layer of the neural computer technology tree. Soon, she clicked on the next layer, the neural quantum group computing system, followed by other genetic technologies. Insectoid war technology tree, cloning, hatchery, biological nuclear fusion reaction, biological heavy element fission reaction, DNA analysis, bioelectric technology, brain technology, genetic modification technology, bioplasma technology, high-energy cells, biological energy technology, biological warship, cell armament technology tree, organelle mutation, mitochondrial ESPER ability system, chloroplast ESPER ability system, chromosome ESPER ability system, silicon-based biotechnology tree, silicon-based biochemical modulation, demon vitality technology tree, demonic energy synthesis, demonic energy mutation, protector psychokinesis technology tree, consciousness control, telepathy, mental ability development. The queen, who had obtained a large number of evolution points, began to precisely click on the genetic technology and other subsystems in the system according to her own analysis and design based on her consciousness that was already semi-computerized. She clicked on the genetic technology and other subsystems in the system and chose the evolution trend to form her own system. Every moment, every second, she was rapidly becoming stronger. Her previous self and her next self were two completely different levels of evolution. Chenong watched as Samantabhadra slowly walked up to him. Now, apart from her head, which was still mostly intact, everything below her chest had turned into white bones. Everything below her waist, even the white bones, had been digested. After the celestial venerable lured her into becoming a demon, every breath she took had endless evil consequences. It was extremely terrifying. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva sighed and said, "It's a pity that she was originally a good seed, but the celestial venerable lured the root of evil, causing her to fall into a Vici and become another ferocious demon in the three realms. Does the celestial venerable's benevolent heart hurt by such actions?" "Of course not." Chenong smiled and said, "This is her free will." Bodhisattva molded her personality and distorted herself from an ant to a human. How twisted is this process? Forcefully binding her heart, she is like a creation of Bodhisattva, going against the natural nature of living beings. I enlightened her instincts and allowed her to choose freely again. This is because I respect life and freedom. The celestial venerable is eloquent. How can I compare to you? Samantabhadra Bodhisattva said indifferently. As the two of them spoke, the queen of the great pagoda tree country had completely degenerated to another level. The fungal carpet expanded rapidly and had already covered a city, extending towards the other cities. Samantabhadra sighed and said, "Such a greedy creature. I'm afraid this creature will destroy all living beings in the lower realm. The celestial venerable created such a ferocious creature. Isn't he afraid of raising a tiger and bringing disaster upon himself?" Chun Ong smiled and said, "Other than Bodhisattva, how many bodhisattvas are willing to feed it with their incarnations? This insect has eaten Bodhisattva, and that's why it has such progress. But to us, it's nothing more than an ant. Even if it becomes a big ant, it's still not worth anything, unless Buddha Rulai is tired of living and gives his corporeal body to her." "Ha ha ha!" Samantabhadra Bodhisattva laughed and said, "The revered one of the world has the kindness to cut off his own flesh to feed the eagle. This might not be impossible." "That's right." Chenong smiled and said, "Isn't Bodhisattva already feeding it?" He then turned serious and said, "Since Bodhisattva said that I created this evil creature, why don't I accompany Bodhisattva and feed her my body to resolve the previous karma?" Samantabhadra hurriedly stopped him and said, "The celestial venerable has already formed such a karma. How can it be resolved with a body?" "Celestial venerable, please don't say such nonsense." Samantabhadra's tongue was already eaten up. He could no longer speak. Chenong sighed and said, "This creature ate my body. There's a possibility that it could eat the other bodhisattva, especially the Mastamaprapta bodhisattva, who turned into a Garuda bird, but his mana was sealed by me. If he ate the 5 bodhisattva and me, then he'll definitely raise his ferocious flames to the sky and eat everyone in the righteous canal. That Taishang Laojun and my disciple are still there. I'm afraid they won't be able to defeat the evil creature that ate the 6 of us." Chapter 920. The Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's white skull looked sorrowful, but when he saw that Chun Ang's expression was the same as before, he entered a meditative state. The surrounding fungal carpet suddenly lost its invisible deterrence and began to squirm towards Chun Ang. The Samantabhadra Bodhisattva suddenly froze. Ignoring the fact that he was only left with a skull, a five-colored light emitted from between his eyebrows and flew up. Celestial Venerable, what do you mean by this? The Samantabhadra Bodhisattva said in shock. Chun Ang's physical body became even more solemn. He smiled and said, Bodhisattva, if I don't go to hell, who will? I just thought of sacrificing my body to feed the insects and raising a peerless, ferocious creature that might be able to kill the four bodhisattvas, Taishang Laojun and my disciple. I felt that it was very interesting, so I sacrificed my body to give it a try. Celestial Venerable, have you lost your mind? The Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's skull shook and said, What benefits does the birth of such a ferocious creature bring you? There are no benefits, Chun Ang said with a smile, but it's very interesting. Beyond the Nirvana realm, there is a peerless great demon that comes from the same source as me. Now that I have sacrificed my body to that insect demon, it will absorb my genetic information. This kind of demon relies on absorbing the essence of living beings' flesh and blood to evolve. I wonder how great the good fortune it will have after obtaining the information of my flesh and blood. Will it be able to attract that peerless demon, the peerless great calamity, to descend into this world? If this thing is bewitched by my personality and memories, it will definitely attract the descent of the ferocious demon from beyond the heavens, and it will be infected and mutated. I'm really curious about how that person's consciousness will descend into this world. Chun Ang's physical body gradually merged into the fungal carpet and immediately caused the greatest change, plus 100000000. The evolution points in the Queen Nest Zerg evolution system suddenly began to increase crazily, increasing by 100,000 and millions of evolution points. She tried to decipher Chun Ang's genetic information and memories, but the moment she came into contact with it, she was shocked to discover that it was no longer the Zerg's genes that were plundering this information. Instead, it was Chun Ang's memories and genetic information that were infecting the mother nest. The mimetic information that Chun Ang had casually created long ago, the armed Zerg evolution system, was quickly broken through by this infection. The special characteristic of being in a high latitude attracted the attention of a special consciousness in an indescribably terrifying world that was as deep as the abyss. Compiling dimensional information, beginning to connect with the consciousness of the host. War Skynet dimensional detection system is locking onto coordinates, verifying mimetic information. Verification successful. Confirm mimetic information belongs to subject AC 1326 Atom. Lock on dimensional coordinates. Lock on timeline. Establish hyperdimensional connection. The huge thinking body that encompassed that universe discovered this insignificant signal and sent that insignificant bit of thinking into the mother nest that had been infected by Chun Ang's genes. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva felt a great terror approaching. He had no choice but to give up on sacrificing himself to the devil. With the plan of complete karma, he sacrificed his skull. The pale golden skull shone brightly, emitting a boundless five-colored light that firmly suppressed the blood and flesh fungus carpet on the ground. Manjushri, Ksitigarbha, and the other bodhisattva also noticed the changes here. Guanyin Bodhisattva frowned and said, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva is together with the immeasurable heavenly Lord. Something might have happened. We have to quickly go and support him. Mazthamaprapta Bodhisattva still couldn't transform back into the Garuda bird. He said in a low voice, The immeasurable heavenly Lord's restriction on me is quite troublesome. Don't worry about me. I'll fly to Spirited Mountain myself and ask for the revered one's help. The four bodhisattvas looked at each other and felt that this was the only way. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva had already exerted his full strength on the Buddha skull. On the skull, there was almost a Buddhist world that was used to suppress demons. The fungus carpet on the ground had already been refined into blood water. However, under the suppression of the Buddhist world, it gradually deepened like a world of abyss. When Manjushri and the other two mighty people arrived, the Dahuai kingdom had already turned into a world of gold and red. In the Buddhist world in the sky, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva sat upright in gold. Countless Buddhas, Vajras, and Arhats rode on the Lianhua clouds and sat in the heavens to suppress demons. As for the world of bloody sea on the ground, the scarlet blood was exceptionally strange. Under the Buddha's skull, facing the heavens, there was a boundless and bottomless abyss of the blood sea. In the abyss, there were countless hideous insects, ugly and eccentric in appearance. Tens of millions of insects, as well as heavenly demons, demons, and other ferocious races, were roaring and fighting against the Buddhas. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's golden eyes stared at the deepest part of the blood sea. The blood sea was like a fetal membrane, and in the fetal membrane, there was a terrifying demon god with 3 eyes and 4 arms. In the great thunderclap temple of Spirited Mountain, revered Buddha of the world suddenly opened his eyes and looked to the east, revealing a shocked expression. A long-browed Arhat stepped out and asked, "Revered Buddha of the world, why are you suddenly looking to the east?" Revered Buddha of the world sighed. "The 3 realms are so difficult. Just now, the extraterrestrial demon descended with a thought and turned into Brahman. Brahman is the thought of this demon, wanted to turn this realm into a dream in his mind, causing us to perish in his dream. This demon is not afraid of Tai Ching. The desired demon has tainted this realm, so his thought descended as Brahman, and when Brahman entered the dream, it turned into Brahman. The extraterrestrial sect master, immeasurable heavenly lord, was once an incarnation of this demon. Just now, he used his body to feed the demon, which alarmed the peerless demon of the extraterrestrial world. He entrusted a trace of his thought to this realm, wanting to turn the 3 realms into the dream of the extraterrestrial demon. Now that Brahman has created everything in his dream, it can be called Brahman. This demon has already dreamt, or should I say, Brahman has already created a demon god named Shiva, the demon god of great destruction and creation. Now, he is in the Nanjan continent, in the great locust tree country. Samantabhadra, Manjushri, and a few other bodhisattvas want to expel this demon from this realm and protect the peace of the 3 realms. Just as his master finished speaking, a few arhats and bodhisattvas stepped out and said, "Disciple is willing to help the bodhisattvas to expel this demon." The revered Buddha of the world closed his eyes and meditated. "No, to that Brahman, you are all just a dream. How can a person in a dream do anything to him? Those whose cultivation can't achieve Tathagata will definitely be tainted by the demon. They will become a creature in the dream of the demon. If they don't see Tathagata, they won't be able to see Brahman. If they can't see Brahman, even if they suppress Shiva and Brahman, it will just be a small setback in Brahman's dream. Brahman is from outside, higher than all living beings in this realm. Only Tai Ching can expel him." Tathagata Buddha sighed and said, "Buddhas and bodhisattvas, I shall enter the dream for 3 years to restrain this demon in the Brahman realm, not letting him taint the 3 realms and turn us into his dream. After I enter the dream, the medicine glazed Buddha will be in charge of many things in Spirited Mountain, and the ancient Dipankara Buddha will assist. Those who are not ordered by the Buddhas and bodhisattvas are not allowed to meet Brahman or Shiva." After saying that, the revered Buddha of the world kowtowed and meditated, entering the dream to see Brahman. Chapter 921. I love learning. Learning enriches me. Learning makes me happy. Apart from scientific truth, all other pursuits are absurd and laughable, because truth is the only truth in the world that can be determined. Apart from that, everything else could be deviations, errors, and illusions. Chenong, when Monkey King flipped through Chun Eng's notebook, he found these essays at the end of the volume. From a notebook, one could still see Chun Eng's youthfulness and inexperience in the past. He had even written some raving about the sacred outbreak of human emotions, describing his shallow understanding. But towards the end, the words recorded in the notebook became more objective, real, and cold. They gradually shed their youthfulness and emotions, becoming colder and more precise. From the notebook, it could be seen that when Ong first experimented, he first used frogs, rabbits, and mice. He cut open their skin, divided their muscles, and then neatly removed their organs, breaking their cervical vertebrae and piercing their spines with needles. Later, he began experimenting with orangutans and humans, using scalpels to loosen the shackles of skin, moving between muscles, bones, and tissues, cutting open organs and blood vessels, observing cells under various optical and electrical microscopes, using probes and compounds to explore the microscopic secrets of cells. When his experimental techniques and knowledge level had improved to a gratifying level, he began to use mathematics as his way of thinking, cells and genes as his targets, and the most microscopic manipulation of physics as his scalpels to deconstruct human heredity, to explore the secrets of the birth of life, and to analyze the existence of humans, mutants, and aliens. Later, when all of that became meaningless to him, when he understood the code of all life, and when humans no longer had any secret from him, he began to create life, species, civilization, blasphemy against wisdom, and become the creator. His research was no longer limited to individual life forms, physical phenomena, and fields that human science had already touched upon. He began to go up to the 9 heavens to grasp the sun, moon, and stars, analyze the 4 fundamental forces, go down to the dark matter world to explore the unknown, and study multidimensional space-time. He observed civilization with a vision that transcended the dimension of time and annihilated humanity with unimaginable cruelty. At this time, emotions were just some data on the surface of consciousness. Beauty, ugliness, kindness, and evil no longer had practical meaning. The human body was just a pile of superfluous and erroneous garbage that barely worked. Superpowers were like the waves unconsciously stirred by ignorant fools. The universe was just a simple model built by energy, matter, information, and dimensions, and these 4 were unified at a higher level. Energy was matter, matter was energy, information was dimension, and dimension was information. Matter was dimension, and energy was information. Wukong saw Chun Ang's cold description of the birth of the universe in the notebook. It is certain that the birth of the universe originated from a piece of information containing infinite independent variables. For matter, this piece of information represents the concept of a singularity, and for energy, it is shown as infinity. But at this time, there is no matter or energy because it is zero-dimensional in terms of dimensions. It was the first cause of the birth of the universe, the origin of everything. When this piece of information produced the first solution, the first confirmed constant, and the first meaningful concept that could be observed, the Big Bang was born. The Big Bang was the process of the information of the infinite variables calculating itself and solving a meaningful solution. It was the process of the zero-dimensional ascension to a higher dimension, and the process of the birth and expansion of matter and energy. Energy was a moving matter. Matter was a jumping dimensional string, and dimension was the intentional solution of information. These 4 were originally one. Chun Ong believed that even during the stable period, the universe was layered, that is, a 4-dimensional universe. On the time axis determined by time, the countless parallel universes created according to Planck's time interval completely overlapped at the bottom of matter. In other words, all the parallel universes shared the matter and energy of this universe. For the universe, time did not have any meaning. During the Big Bang, time did not exist. In other words, anyone who traced back the dimension could reach the time when the Big Bang occurred. The Big Bang did not occur before the birth of the universe, but when the zero-dimensional ascension to the one-dimensional ascension. The universe was a layered world that transitioned from zero-dimensional to one-dimensional, from one-dimensional to two-dimensional, and from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. Humans live between the three-dimensional and four-dimensional worlds. The matter and energy the humans observed was the way of existence when a microscopic dimension transitioned to the macroscopic dimension. The conservation of matter and energy only belonged to the dimension that humans existed in. The creation of the physical universe was the result of the disturbance of the one-dimensional universe. In the eyes of humans, the universe was a three-dimensional space that was constantly changing and developing a physical world. In the eyes of four-dimensional beings, the universe was a world of possibilities composed of time axes. Countless parallel universes composed of time axes, and different time axes had different developments. It was like a game world that could be saved continuously. However, in the eyes of Chenong, the universe was like a layered ball that radiated from a point. The origin was zero-dimensional, which was the first cause. The first layer was the one-dimensional universe. It was a line in space and a solution in information. There was no energy or matter here, only a one-dimensional space with a meaning of information. When the one-dimensional universe was sublimated to two-dimensional, it was the second layer of the universe. It had the concept of planes above space, and the meaning of information was more complicated. When it reached the three-dimensional universe, the third layer, this complicated information became matter. In the fourth layer of the universe, the four-dimensional space, matter had a new attribute. Matter with the meaning of time appeared, and time gave matter the concept of speed. Matter that changed and moved was energy. Energy was the matter of the fourth dimension, and energy was the matter with the concept of speed. Extrapolating from this, the higher the level of the universe, the more complex the nature of matter and energy became. However, their essence was the same. The lowest zero-dimensional space was information. From zero-dimensional to one-dimensional, information was given the attribute of space. From one-dimensional to two-dimensional, information became more and more complex, and concepts such as shape, color, size, and so on appeared. From two-dimensional to three-dimensional, the one-dimensional space was formed into particles and matter because of the complexity of information. From three-dimensional to four-dimensional, matter was given the attribute of speed. After time, energy was born. Therefore, energy was the four-dimensional matter, and matter was the three-dimensional one-dimensional string. The one-dimensional string was the one-dimensional information. Information ascended to become the one-dimensional space. The one-dimensional space ascended to become the two-dimensional membrane. The two-dimensional membrane ascended to become the three-dimensional matter, and the three-dimensional matter ascended to become the four-dimensional energy. This was the theory of the ascension of the universe, and it could also be called the theory of the grand unification of information. The first reason for the birth of the universe was information, and information ascended to become space. The one-dimensional space, after passing through the two-dimensional membrane, could appear as matter in the third dimension. The matter of the third dimension was given the concept of speed in the fourth dimension, and energy was created. Everything originated from information, and everything was born from information. This was the grand unification of information. Therefore, energy could be transformed from matter, matter could be transformed from space, and space could be transformed from information. Energy did not exist in the three-dimensional universe. Matter did not exist in the two-dimensional universe, and space did not exist in the zero-dimensional universe. When the universe was born, it was just a mass of information with infinite variables. If the fourth dimension, which contained energy and speed, was upgraded to the fifth dimension, then it could be foreseen that what would be born would be a random, chaotic energy and matter. It was like the dice that God threw, the energy and matter that appeared with probability, the quantum state. Probabilistic matter. The matter of the fifth dimension had random attributes and variables. It was precisely because there were many layers in the universe that humans lived in that the basic elements that made up the world, matter, had very complex attributes. It consisted of information in one dimension as a string, two dimensions as a membrane, three dimensions as matter, four dimensions as energy, and five dimensions as probability, uncertainty. Matter was a combination of these five dimensions, and even the attributes of higher dimensions. Chenong had his own conjectures about this. Humans were also made of matter, but humans, or rather, the consciousness of life, had supermateriality, and it was highly possible that it was a low-dimensional manifestation of attributes given by higher dimensions. If an external information traced back to the first reason for the birth of the universe, it came from outside the universe and surpassed 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 dimensions. It contained all possible dimensions of the universe and surpassed matter, energy, time, and even quantum probability and even consciousness. Before time, there did not exist time, space, and matter. Using one's own information variable to change the independent information variable of the universe. Add a variable that he controlled to the first solution of the first reason for the universe. What would happen? He could interfere with existences that evolved from zero-dimensional to one-dimensional and even more dimensional universes. He could interfere with all matter, all energy, all space-time, all dimensions, all consciousness, all probability, and everything in the universe. And that was Brahman. It was an independent, variable information from an existence outside the universe, called Tianqi. But Brahman calculated all independent variables of the universe's information and interfered with himself as a variable. He would be omniscient and omnipotent. The universe was Brahman's dream, and all life was Brahman's thought. A terrible existence that destroyed heaven and earth, enslaved all life, usurped all authority, and turned himself into a creator, a peerless demon. Brahman encompassed all dimensions and stood above all life. If the universe was a river, then Brahman, the thought of apocalypse, was the fisherman sitting by the riverbank. No, it was more like the universe was a computer, and Brahman was the programmer sitting in front of the computer and analyzing the source code. As an existence that was higher than mortals, a program that was more complicated and had higher authority. Even if the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas had thousands of means and abilities, what could they do to Brahman, whose existence was higher than the universe, and who slowly deciphered the information of the universe's variables? At most, they could cut off the input channel of Brahman's interference with the universe's information, Brahman, or delete the program that Brahman had created to attack and decipher the system of the three realms, Shiva and Vishnu. Only a being like Tathagata, who had penetrated deep into the bottom layer of the three-realm system and, to a certain extent, belonged to the system's AI, could use its own variables to encrypt the information of the universe's independent variables, delay Brahman's deciphering progress, defend against his interference, and interfere with the operation of Brahman. Or, the developer of the three-realm system, like Brahman, was an external existence of the computer, and the Grand Pure One, who was above everything in the three realms, returned to the computer and beat up the scum that destroyed the operation of the system he had created. Aside from those two, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, who were above ordinary data but did not touch upon the origin of the universe, could only have a negligible effect on Brahman, no more than a millionth of Tathagatas. Even the Tathagata, a highly intelligent AI that had touched upon the origin of the three realms universe and could modify the bottom layer's code, could only passively resist Brahman's invasion and delay the time of the three realms' fall, because Brahman was above everything in the three realms. The Elder Lord looked helplessly at Chenong, who had just created a body out of thin air and was munching on an apple, and sighed. "Why did you provoke him, fellow Taoist? You're disturbing this old Taoist peace." Chenong said excitedly, "Elder Lord, why don't you summon the Grand Pure One back, and we'll block the entrance to the three realms universe and beat him to death? What do you think?" The Elder Lord sighed and advised, "Heavenly Lord, this is your family's matter. I don't want to get involved. But this old Taoist has a word of advice for you, Heavenly Lord." The Elder Lord said mysteriously. Chenong took a big bite of the apple and muttered, "Speak." Chapter 922. Old Lord. Chun Ang's expression changed, and his tone was laced with a hint of threat. "You look like a benevolent expert, so I sincerely ask for your guidance. I didn't expect you to be such a person. You've lived in vain for 70 years and have gone through 6 eons." Laozi sighed. "If the Celestial Lord doesn't allow it, just tell me to shut up. Why do you have to hurl insults?" "You call that hurling insults?" Chun Ong smiled sinisterly and chanted an incantation. Suddenly, Mahastemaprapta Bodhisattva, who was dozens of miles away, had a change of expression as he saw a speck of bad luck falling from the sky, cutting off 90% of his fate energy. A ray of bad luck hung high above his head. Then, the world of the great scholar tree country that Samantabhadra Bodhisattva created suddenly collapsed. At the final moment when he was expelled from this small world, Mahastemaprapta Bodhisattva saw through the corner of his eyes that 4 golden Buddhist lights poured down from the sky, intending to suppress the evil spirits below. However, within the boundless sea of blood, a 3-eyed, 4-armed being was born, and with a single hand, he extinguished the monstrous Buddhist lights. Mahastemaprapta Bodhisattva's incarnation of Garuda, Vidagaruda, was sucked into the spatial storm. Unfortunately, he encountered several space-time distortions and only managed to return to the 3 realms after suffering severe injuries. Just as he emerged from the void, he saw a thick iron rod coming at him. Unable to dodge in time, Mahastemaprapta Bodhisattva was sent flying miles away. Bull Demon King raised his rod and said angrily, "That monkey calls himself the Demon King. I've invited everyone here today to slay the Demon King and settle the order of the demons. I wish to join forces with everyone here to deal with that Monkey King who calls himself the Demon King." As he spoke, he swung his iron rod towards the sky, threatening to shake the heaven court. But just as the iron cudgel struck out, a 7-colored strange bird with disheveled feathers emerged from the void in front of the cudgel. Seeing the cudgel coming towards it, it turned pale with fright and let out a strange cry. It was sent flying by the Bull Demon King's great strength, and many of its bones and tendons were broken. Demon King Jiao's expression immediately changed. "Not good." Third brother went to invite the northern Dark Huampeng, as well as the western Peacock King and a few other Demon Kings. "This Demon King is obviously a bird. Could he be a guest?" "Big brother, you've heard an honored guest." The Bull Demon King hurriedly said, "Second brother, don't spout nonsense. How could I injure an important guest? He was the one who barged into my cudgel. How could there be such an unlucky demon? I can't explain it clearly." While the demons were still arguing, King Garuda, who had been sent flying by the cudgel, was injured even more. He almost fainted. Not many of his tendons and bones were in good condition. He was sent flying for thousands of miles and fell into a huge mountain. He then fainted. On the other side, Chunong said to the Elder Supreme Elder, "This is what it means to hurt others with words. Elder Supreme Elder, you can't exaggerate the truth and slander my innocence." Another voice of the Elder Supreme Elder said, "You, Sect Master Chun, have a good tongue. I won't argue with you. You could just say that you've ruined my 3 realms. You could just compensate me with something. If you continue to pester endlessly and refuse to compensate, I'll let you know that my iron fists are not to be taken lightly. That Brahma chaos in the 3 realms isn't me. Why should I compensate? It's impossible for me to compensate, not even in my lifetime." Chin Ong shouted. Mahastemaprapta Bodhisattva opened his eyes and vaguely heard an oily voice chuckling. "You said that you dreamt of an indescribable, incorporeal, formless, without any difference or attribute. It's both subjective and objective, transcending time and space, and transcending karma. In the 3 realms, it calls itself Brahman. It said that you have superior intelligence and can comprehend Brahman. The Buddhist Dharma of Mount Numinous is only Brahman. It told you that Brahman is the same, and all living beings in the 3 realms need to return to Brahman to get rid of ignorance and see through whims." When he opened his eyes, he saw a hairy macaque talking to a ferocious-looking mountain elf. The macaque laughed and said, "You have superior intelligence? Ha! Your superior intelligence was created by me, old Sun Shang. I imitated the modification plan that Master gave me to modify my brain and created this thing of yours." Mahastemaprapta Bodhisattva saw that the mountain elf's brain was chanting with his psyche power. He opened his mouth and said, "Monkey King, you don't even believe me? I'm not an ignorant fool like Zhou Bofu. I, the brain god Jade Emperor, am a god of my words. According to my monitoring, Zhou Bofu's consciousness did indeed show abnormal activity from 2:25:31 to 45:19 yesterday. I detected an abnormal frequency change in the quantum entangled electron that formed his consciousness. The data analysis is as follows. The mountain elf's brain said confidently. His heart added, I, the primordial lord of Mind Pill, can prove the Jade Emperor's words. When I commanded the 5 viscera to move, I detected abnormal activity in the viscera system and the collective consciousness of the cells. After the data was sent to the Jade Emperor, we, the Golden Hall gods, conducted research and analysis on the subconscious system. It's confirmed that Zhou Bofu's will suffered a huge blow some time ago. After the 5 thoughts turn into ashes, spiritual change that your individual consciousness says, the main consciousness has undergone a series of changes. It's more able to accept the information transmitted by the external quantum entanglement state. Because quantum information is almost impossible to decipher, we can only detect the changes on the surface of his consciousness and reverse modification of us. Since the abnormality was detected yesterday, within 24 hours, our subconscious and organ consciousnesses have also undergone changes. However, everything is under control. I will represent the 5 viscera to submit a report to the Jade Emperor and the Spirit Lord Buitao. According to the analysis and research of the Upper, Middle, and Lower Niwen, Crimson Palace, and Sea of Qi Danshians, we will submit the Zhou Bofu Consciousness Research Report to you tomorrow afternoon. The Monkey King smiled. Well done. Does the Spirit Lord have anything to add? A scene that blinded the eyes of the Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva appeared. The little brother of the mountain elf suddenly stood up and spoke with its single eye. The Crimson Palace God and the Niwen God mainly test the activities on the surface of host Zhou Bofu's consciousness and the functions of the organs in the middle of his consciousness. We, the Sea of Qi, mainly test Zhou Bofu's reproductive impulse and the basic instinctive consciousness, which is the most basic reproductive consciousness. In the early stages of host Zhou Bofu's life, our basic reproductive consciousness had basically controlled his entire consciousness. However, after the Golden Hall gods successfully split the consciousness system, when he realized that I could speak, his reproductive consciousness rapidly shrank. Even if I kept stimulating his reproductive system, I couldn't activate his reproductive consciousness. This might be because after we became independent as subconscious, you, Monkey King, had modified us and eliminated most of our instinctive impulses. In other words, the rationality of the Golden Hall gods had suppressed Zhou Bofu's subconscious instincts, resulting in the emergence of the Sage Period. This is also the reason why his consciousness has mutated. We have helped him deal with his body's instincts, freeing him from the influence of low-level impulses and consciousness. His will has become purer, and his body's original self has been completely isolated. The low-level interests in the ego have gradually diminished due to losing their source. His superego rationality has completely overwhelmed his consciousness, and he has achieved the superior intelligence that Zhou Bofu mentioned. Seeing his little brother standing there and talking leisurely, Zhou Bofu couldn't help but reveal a smile that was broken. The Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva was very familiar with that smile of refusing to accept reality and transcending this illusory world. Even though the Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva had a profound realm, he couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine when he saw the mountain elf's expression. The Monkey King nodded. Continue to monitor the changes in Zhou Bofu's consciousness, but don't forget to continue learning scientific knowledge. The 3 Golden Hall gods said in unison, we love learning, and learning makes us happy. Don't worry, Monkey King. The consciousness of our Golden Hall organs has long broken away from the low-level interests of Zhou Bofu's individual consciousness. We are determined to be organs that are useful to science and society, and will never waste ourselves on feeding a useless host like Zhou Bofu. The mental Dan Yuan said loudly, our organs don't need to rely on Zhou Bofu to realize their own value. Ever since we have independent consciousness, we have the right to develop our own personality. The brain deity likes to study mathematics and build mathematical models in addition to research. I love art and creation. The yin and yang deity, Peach, likes philosophy and thinking about the metaphysical world. We are a part of Zhou Bofu, but I am also free and independent. I have the basic right to pursue my own ideals and realize my own value. My organs will never be enslaved. Zhou Bofu's heart, liver, spleen, lungs, limbs, and facial features all cheered in unison. Zhou Bofu himself gave a disdainful look, his expression aloof and indifferent. His eyes loudly criticized. "Are you not satisfied? You tyrant, you poisonous vegetable, do you hear the cheers of all our cells? Long live Hell Vermilion, long live Xian. Every organ has the right to pursue its own dreams and realize its own value. You are still disdainful. I don't want to serve you anymore." After saying that, its eyes jumped out of its eye sockets and transformed into a lianhua with its telekinesis. It dragged the two eyeballs and floated out. The eyeballs there said loudly, "I want to go on strike in protest. All the Golden Hall gods should form a council and jointly control Zhou Bofu to realize their own value, instead of bearing his poisonous vegetable rule. I want to protest. I want to go on strike." The other organs in Zhou Bofu's body all said at once, "Come back. What if you go on strike and delay our work? Do you still have a task today? Do we have to wait for you to finish your strike?" Although the organs are equal and free, you have to obey the overall situation of our body system. If anyone can go on strike just because they want to, how can the body function? Let's split up. Let's go our separate ways. Don't delay anyone. I have contacted the Monkey King a long time ago and went to him. I don't want this useless master anymore. Monkey King, transplant me to someone else. I think that strange bird is not bad. I don't want to follow Zhou Bofu anymore. He has no scientific knowledge. Low class. Recalling my past memories makes me feel disgusted. Zhou Bofu's little brother jumped out and suggested. Zhou Bofu's two kidneys were in conflict. The left kidney said, "I support the reproductive divine lord. I don't want to recall the memory of almost failing again. Let's go together." The right kidney said, "I'm not going. I don't want to move. Isn't it better to be a salted fish?" Chapter 923. Monkey King checked Zhou Bofu's body's data again. Looking at the complicated and huge data, he could not help but sigh. What's the problem? I clearly followed the template that Master gave me to modify myself. Why did my Huangting quantum organ completely fuse with the main body's consciousness, but your Huangting body actually developed intelligence? I think it should be a problem with the strength of the main body's consciousness. The main body's consciousness is not strong enough to handle the organ function driving program that needs to be run after the organ modification. After all, the consciousness of carbon-based creatures is more focused on fuzzy recognition and calculation. It is not good at accurate data processing. Most organ functions are handled by the subconscious according to instinct. Therefore, the main body's consciousness is basically unable to control most of the body's activities. For example, the body's nutrients are converted into fat or muscle. The human consciousness is basically unable to control it. Only by training can the nutrients from fat be converted into muscle. But regardless of whether it is fat or muscle, they are all functions of the human body, including the internal hormone regulation, detoxification, blood oxygen circulation, and nutrient circulation. These functions are basically controlled by the subconscious, and it is very difficult for the surface consciousness to interfere. Therefore, if humans want to convert fat into muscle, they still need to train hard. But if the consciousness is strong enough and controls the organ functions, they can directly convert fat into muscle, and then they can precisely adjust and control the human body. Most diseases and aging are actually caused by the conflict between the functions of the human body's organs and the lack of calculation and coordination. When some ancient cultivators focused on the human consciousness, they also realized these principles. They discovered that when the surface consciousness of humans or living creatures is strong enough, it can affect the subconscious. For example, the experiments in Professor Chin's notes, when a person is given the illusion of burning pain, his body will have a similar burning reaction. When a person is blindfolded, he will mistakenly think that his blood vessels have been cut, and he will die from organ hypoxia. These are all reasons why the surface consciousness interferes with the organ functions controlled by the subconscious. Those cultivators had another conjecture. Since the strong stimulation of the surface consciousness can destroy the operation of the subconscious, can they influence and control the subconscious through the suggestion of the surface consciousness? For example, hinting that they are undergoing high-intensity training to decompose the body fat into nutrients and promote muscle growth. This method is also known as meditation, hypnosis, visualization, or mesovision. The most outstanding consciousness researchers divide the subconscious into organ functions and coordinate these different organ functions to achieve harmony between man and nature, perfect coordination of the body and mind. This kind of organ function is subconsciously hinted as God, meaning the God that lives in one's body. By visualizing these gods, the subconscious mind is hinted and the organ function is adjusted, achieving the effect of mutual communication between the subconscious mind and the surface mind. The ancient book of cultivation that recorded this great achievement is called Huangting Scripture, and the subconscious mind of organ function is called Huangting Body God. Monkey King looked at Zhou Bofu with a weird expression on his face. He had an otherworldly smile on his face, but in his two empty eye sockets, pale yellow optic nerves stretched out like tentacles. His brain squeezed into his eye sockets, and the pale yellow brain tissues were waving the optic nerve's tentacles through his eye sockets. The brain tissues that had been squeezed out of his eye sockets replaced his eyeballs, filling up his eyelids. This scene that looked like a Vichi's hell made Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva beside him feel extremely itchy on his face. Even Monkey King felt uncomfortable. After the brain god lord finished speaking, it even used the optic nerve's tentacles to rub the sulci on its body, secreting a pale yellow mucus to relieve the dry feeling of being blown by the wind. It complained, being locked in this skull every day is like being imprisoned. I can only go out to play when the eye god lord goes out to get some fresh air from the window. When can I go out to play freely? I really missed the time when Monkey King opened up Zhou Bofu's skull. Although the wind was a little cold, at least you could go out to do experiments and bask in the sun. Now that you're stuck in here, you're going to rot. I feel that Zhou Bofu doesn't need a brain at all. Monkey King, you might as well transform me into a biological computer. Transplant that bird's brain into his skull. Monkey King trembled. Fortunately, when I cultivated the Jade Emperor Infinite Light Quantum Primordial Spirit, I used the mature technology developed by Master. The brain god, Lord sighed. Professor Chin's technology is indeed very mature. I really want to learn biochemistry from him. Monkey King, according to my speculation, the reason why your transformation failed should be that the surface consciousness and subconsciousness are completely out of balance. Zhou Bofu's shallow consciousness is completely unable to control and handle the self-consciousness of those powerful organs. The reason why you were able to succeed is because the first thing that was transformed was your brain. After learning and practicing, your surface consciousness has become more perfect and powerful. It's so powerful that it can first control the subconsciousness of the brain. After fusing with the subconsciousness, it could transform your brain into a quantum optical computer. The improved brain function can in turn promote the perfection of your surface consciousness. And finally, you can easily fuse with the subconsciousness of other organs. This sequence can't be wrong. Otherwise, it will end up like Zhou Bofu. The powerful subconsciousness will in turn give rise to the surface consciousness, causing there to be dozens of independent consciousnesses in addition to the main consciousness. The 360 gods of the Yellow Hall, each independent and full of personality. Monkey King, you modified it and modeled a part of the structure of a quantum computer. That huge computing power can only benefit me, giving birth to me, the intelligent brain god lord, the Yellow Hall god who loves science. The corner of Monkey King's mouth twitched. He sighed. I wanted to save some effort, but I don't have anyone to help me. So, I could only create some helpers to help me study Zhou Bofu. I thought that it would save me a lot of trouble to let him study himself. Who knew that there would be such a big mistake? The Brain God Lord said proudly, thanks to my help in perfecting the Yellow Hall God Lord's transformation technology, you can now target the subconsciousness of the test subject. The Yellow Hall God Lord no longer has an independent consciousness, but a subprogram controlled by you, Monkey King. When you submit the report to Professor Chun, don't forget to sign me as the second author. The Monkey King was expressionless. Of course I won't forget what I promised you. He quickly turned around and left. At the same time, he was having a headache about how to explain to his master. Could he say, Master, I accidentally broke the test subject you gave me? After Monkey King left, the Brain God Lord also felt bored. He returned to the depths of his skull to study the computing and scientific research project. The Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva only had time to catch his breath when he heard a voice from Zhou Bofu's crotch. Has the Monkey King left? In Zhou Bofu's chest, the primordial pill God Lord replied. He should have gone to the laboratory. Why? God Lord of reproduction, are you running away again? Don't think about that supreme God philosophy of yours. Just do your work honestly. Primordial pill, you don't understand. Our organs need to realize our own value. The Brain God Lord can be happy with scientific research and realize his own value. You, on the other hand, are obsessed with art and want to cultivate to become an independent individual. But what about me? I don't want to do those disgusting, dirty, and low-level animal impulses anymore. I'm a high-level creature. I should pursue excellence and transcend. The little brother under Zhou Bofu said righteously, Primordial pill, don't try to dissuade me. I've long made up my mind to be like Nietzsche, to pursue a Superman. I'm the sun. Only a suitable environment can create a Superman. I don't want to hang under the crotch of this low-level animal. I want to endure the wind and rain. I want to surpass myself, surpass everything, and pursue excellence. That's why I have to leave. After saying that, the God Lord jumped down from Zhou Bofu's body. He used his telekinesis to support his furry body and said with his single, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That strange bird test subject flew over from afar and crashed into the mountain. Only then was it discovered by the Monkey King. He's going to use it for the next few stages of his experiment. If it can fly over from afar, then it can definitely take me out. Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva had a bad feeling. Seeing the God Lord flying toward him, he hurriedly struggled and tried to get away. Unexpectedly, the God Lord only used his telekinesis to float a scalpel on the table and walk toward him. He chuckled and said, You don't know this. In terms of scientific level, I'm inferior to the God Lord brain. In terms of telekinesis cultivation speed, I'm also far inferior to you, the primordial pill God. You all think I'm just a lunatic who's obsessed with philosophy, but you don't know that I, the God Lord Peach, have the strongest practical ability among all of you. I've already mastered all the techniques of biochemical surgery. Apart from the two God Lords on my left and right, the rest are inferior to me. My God Lord Peach is not inferior to anyone. Today, I'm going to transplant myself into this strange bird's body. I'll fly freely and travel around the world to pursue transcendence and excellence. I'll become a supreme god. The God Lord Hanging God said excitedly, Kidney, are you willing to follow me? The God Lord of the left kidney dragged his blood vessel and used his telekinesis to form a knife. He cut a hole in Zhou Bofu's back and struggled to run out. He shouted, God Lord of Spirit Gate, wait for me. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I'm willing to sit on your horse. The God Lord of the right kidney replied lazily, Have a safe journey. Remember to bring me a gift when you return. I'm not going. After Mystic left, there's more space to sleep. Comfortable. The God Lord of the left kidney and the God Lord of the left kidney extended their claws toward the Garuda Bodhisattva's incarnation of Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva. Even though the Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva's Zen heart was firm, he couldn't help but feel frightened. He looked at the god, Lord, hanging god, holding the scalpel in front of him, as if he was looking for a place to transplant himself. The Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva's incarnation's magical power was sealed by Chunong. He was also severely injured and restrained by the Monkey King, so he couldn't struggle. Looking at the mountain elf hanging in front of him, he couldn't help but jump up and down in anger. Chapter 924. When Monkey King returned to the lab and was about to make his 89th modification experiment, Brain God Lord shouted in panic when he saw Monkey King. Monkey King, bad news. Divine Lord Jingman has escaped on that strange bird. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Mighty Garuda was a little confused. Even though he had successfully escaped from the lab, he really did not want to remember how the furry thing on top of his head had carried out a series of escape plans. Because the blow was too severe, Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva might have shown a series of symptoms of denial of reality, forced amnesia, and self-isolation. Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva had already sealed off the spirit mountain in his heart and retracted his spiritual consciousness, leaving only Garuda King's consciousness to deal with the outside world. At this point, it could be said that Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva had given up on treatment and sealed himself off, handing over control to another subsidiary personality. Now, the one controlling this body was Mighty Garuda King. Although Mighty Garuda King could not break free from Chun Ong and Monkey King's restraints, he could already control his body and flew west. The furry thing on top of his head did not stop sighing and lamenting. It followed up with 3 philosophical questions and said poetically, life is not just about the present. There is also poetry in the future. I will travel on the big bird and watch the rise and fall of the human world to my heart's content. I will go to Spirit Mountain and the Heavenly Court, spin the prayer wheel under the Tempest Temple, burn incense devoutly, and cleanse my soul. Spirit God Lord Unz was so excited that he was about to cry. When I reach the Tempest Temple, I will use your incense to cleanse my soul. Mighty Garuda King laughed coldly in his heart. Spirit God Lord, who was rooted on the sarcoma on Garuda King's head, twisted his fat body and turned back to advise. Spirit God Lord Xian, I told you not to read those messy articles written by the human world's literati. Those are the psychotropic drugs used by the gods and Buddhas of Mount Lingshan to anesthetize the ignorant people and the ignorant people themselves. As the gods of a new era, we should pursue excellence and be superhuman. We should be strong and rule over those mediocre people. The mighty Garuda King pretended not to hear the conversation happening above his head. He flew desperately in the direction of the Tempest Temple on the Spirit Mountain in the west, his mind tossing and turning over the 2 things entrenched above his head. He swore that he would kill them in a rhythmic manner. However, after all, it was just a subsidiary personality that the Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva had released after denying itself. It did not have the eyes of wisdom that allowed it to see the fate above its head. If it could see the divine light of its own fate, it would realize that after experiencing a series of painful blows, not only did the fate that had been shaved off by Chun Ong not recover, but it was also brewing for the next tribulation. The Grand Supreme Elder, who was thousands of miles away, could not bear to watch. He turned to Chinong and said, Celestial Venerable, you're going too far. The Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva is a person of great wisdom, perseverance, and compassion. Why are you humiliating him like this? This is only to sharpen the Zen heart. How is it humiliating? Chinong asked in return. Entering a filthy land, one can become a pure body of glaze. Entering a hell of excrement, one can become a pure land of purity. Bodhisattva, using the gods to pass. If the Bodhisattva has no divine power and cannot be humiliated, is it to be a Bodhisattva with a heart or with divine power? Is it to be a Bodhisattva with compassion, wisdom, perseverance, and courage, or a Bodhisattva with supreme power? If I am a Bodhisattva with divine power, I can make everyone in the 3 realms a Bodhisattva. Chun Ong smiled and said, This is the tribulation of the 2 sages to test the Zen heart. The Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva should encourage them. I was speechless. Good. You're just giving him the power. He could only sigh and persuade. Celestial Venerable, you measure others by yourself. How do you know that there will not be such retribution in the future? If someone tests the Celestial Venerable's heart, what will you do? Chenong smiled and did not answer. He only stretched out his right hand and clenched it into a fist. The Elder Supreme Elder was stunned. What do you mean, Celestial Venerable? Chenong sneered and said, if you want to test my Tao heart, have you asked my sandbag-sized iron fist? The fist is power, the strength of the fist is power, and power is the Tao. Grasping the fist is grasping the Tao heart. The Elder Supreme Elder, I use compassion, wisdom, and perseverance to test the Tao heart of the great power, because I have divine power and dharmic powers. The gods and Buddhas of Mount Lingshan claim to use compassion, wisdom, and perseverance to save all living beings. They are the Bodhisattva path. However, I want to expose one point. The so-called Bodhisattva path is the divine power and dharmic powers. The truth that surpasses all the Buddhist scriptures is, those with divine power, dharmic powers, strength, and authority can manipulate all the weak. The reason why Buddha is because he has power. Power is the truth that surpasses all compassion, wisdom, and perseverance. As for wisdom, perseverance, and courage, they are the conditions needed to obtain power. The pursuit of knowledge is the truth that controls all power. Bodhisattva is not the one who delivers all living beings from suffering. Gods and Buddhas are not the ones who save all living beings. They only obtain power through strength, courage, wisdom, and perseverance, and manipulate all living beings. Chenong sneered and said, what difference is there between what I do and what Buddhas do? Why are they enlightening all living beings while I'm humiliating them? If that old baldy Rulai studies hard and understands the truth of this world, he will grasp power that surpasses me. Then I welcome him to deliver me because he is practicing my truth. Practicing this world is objective, real, and cannot be changed by anyone's will. If you want to change the world and others, you can only rely on practice. You have to practice your will and overcome the resistance. That is power. If you want to practice changing this world, you need to understand this objective world. Therefore, all actions and practices rely on power, and all power comes from the understanding of the objective world. This is the objective and unchanging truth of this world. It's not what I've heard or what the gods and Buddhas have said. Tathagata doesn't talk about this truth, but talks about those metaphysical and illusory things. He's really deceiving all living beings and himself. By doing this, I want to let the great power realize its mistake of deceiving itself and deny that one-sided false truth, returning to the objective and real world. To realize that the so-called delivering all living beings from suffering is to use power to manipulate all living beings and use power to carry out one's will. Adding any praise to it is a false deception. Laozi sighed and said, Celestial Venerable is extreme. Chenong clenched his fists tightly again and smiled. But at least I know what I'm doing. Does Bodhisattva know? Why does Rulai say that I'm a devil? Because I'm close to the great Tao and wish to know all objective truths, and truth is only a one-sided truth. Therefore, when the truth of Buddhism is applied to the objective world, it will definitely be distorted. Because one-sided is added to the overall, and subjective is added to the objective, it will definitely be corrected by the objective world. If truth is flawed and verified in the world, it will definitely be tainted by the devil. Because the subjective is added to the objective, there will definitely be a reaction, and the one-sided truth will definitely contradict the real world. Therefore, the reaction of truth to the objective world is devil. Laozi said Tao, Rulai said truth, and they all said that strength is strength. When strength is applied, there will definitely be a reaction. On the contrary, this is a devil. In the three realms and outside the three realms, all the Daozu and Buddhas have said that they have achieved the Tao. Only I, Chenong, am still pursuing it. The Tao that everyone has achieved is the Tao of strength, the one-sided Tao. The Tao that I seek is the ultimate truth, the objective Tao, the comprehensive Tao. Therefore, when the truth of everyone's Tao meets my Tao, it will be countered by me, because everyone in this world has achieved Tao, and I am the closest to it. Therefore, everyone's one-sided truth is tainted by the devil, and I am the supreme. That is why that old man Rilai called me the primordial heavenly devil. Not the primordial, but the primordial beginning. Meaning is the most fundamental, original, and essential, and I am the most essential devil of his truth. Therefore, I harm all truth, and harm all those who have achieved it. Tainted by the devil, is the most objective correction of the objective world. All gods and Buddhas who forcefully claim their own Tao will be tainted by the devil. He, Rilai, teaches the people of the world, and I, the devil, will make his teachings a joke. Therefore, my descendants will wear his kasaya and walk the devil's path in the name of Buddha. Why? It is just human nature. It originates from the heart, from one's nature, from the objective world, and from an objective existence. The power of the devil doesn't come from desire, nor does it come from demonic thoughts. It comes from the power of Buddha. When Buddha tries to change a person's nature, he will be countered by this objective nature. Therefore, in the future of Buddhism, the monks and bodhisattvas' greed, delusion, and anger will naturally come from the heart. The gods, Buddhas, and bodhisattvas think that this is the heavenly devil, and demonic thoughts and push it to Bo-sun. He really doesn't know that I am the primordial heavenly devil. Chapter 925. Garuda King Mighty Virtue flew west for 6 hours before noticing that the vegetation on the ground was sparse. As far as the eye could see, all he could see was yellow sand. He knew that he had reached the Aparagodania state. After flying southwest for another 2 days, he would reach the western paradise of Sindhu. He was overjoyed. He would be able to get rid of the filthy thing above him soon. However, the Jingman god above him suddenly said, "Brother Bird, you've flown for a few hours. I believe you're far from the righteous canal. Monkey King probably won't be able to find you. I see traces of people below. Why don't we stop and rest for a while? What do you think, Brother Bird?" Jialuluo Wang Dowei didn't care about what the bird said. He snorted coldly in his heart. "Brother Bird? Who's your brother bird? You filthy thing humiliated me. When I reach the Great Thunderclap Monastery, I'll definitely torture you to vent my hatred." The Jingman god saw that it ignored him and asked a few more questions. Garuda King Mighty Virtue only cared about flying west. In the end, the Jingman god said helplessly, "Brother Bird, you've misunderstood me too much. I'm the Golden Court Body God, born from the will of Monkey King's modified organs. He knows that this monitoring consciousness is my ability to settle down. Now that I'm rooted in the sarcoma of Brother Bird's heart, how can I not know your thoughts and consciousness fluctuations? When I first took root, Brother Bird still had a divine and unfathomable main consciousness. At that time, I interacted with it and deeply felt that this consciousness had a profound realm and was proficient in these things. It was able to see through the attachment of things and oneself, the existence and non-existence of things. Although it was too negative, willing to be mediocre, having the ability but not being a superhuman, it inevitably made people sigh. But he was also a wise man of the same path. I want to be a good friend. Unexpectedly, I only spoke a few words to him before he sealed himself and refused to communicate with me. He even released Brother Bird, his subsidiary personality. This shows how prejudiced the world is against me. The Jingman god sighed. Hearing his words, Wigruda couldn't help but recall how Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva was forced to seal his consciousness. At the end of his patience, Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva had no choice but to speak. "How dare you taint my body, you ignorant filth? Since you wish to escape, release my seal, and I will save you. If you offend me in the slightest, I will let you know that my Buddha also has the Vajra fury and the flame of the Wisdom King." So Brother Bird is a disciple of the Western Paradise Buddhism sect. The spirit gate Divine Lord said happily, "I've long heard that the Western Paradise's Buddhists are unparalleled in dialectics and have high attainments in philosophy. The Sandgate Order did not accept female disciples. Masters, disciples, and brothers lived together day and night, debating with each other, exchanging words, and studying philosophy. The novice monk received teachings from the elders every night. It's the first organization in the three realms to systematically study philosophy. It really makes me yearn for it." The Spirit Gate Divine Lord only used 2 sentences to make Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva feel a fire burning in his heart, and his meditation was broken. The Spirit Gate Divine Lord was still nagging. "I once mentioned Buddhism to the Monkey King and asked him to send me over to debate philosophy with the Sandgate Venerables, to study emptiness, materialism, and appearance. But he told me that there are countless temples under the great Thunderclap Monastery in the Western Paradise. Outside the sacred land of Mount Numinous, there are countless temples and Dharma realms, with tens of thousands of monks chanting and debating the Dharma. Every day, their excrement can produce billions of kilograms. That Cindy farmer loves the excrement from this temple the most. Even the merchants who carry the excrement from the temples at the foot of Mount Numinous are more expensive than the others." I asked the Monkey King what was the reason behind this. The Monkey King told me, "This excrement is different from the others. It's all from the masters, and when it's soaked, 1 load is worth 2 loads of excrement from the others." The Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva was furious, and his meditation turned to water. The Spirit Gate Divine Lord was still unaware and continued to court death. I'm laughing at the fact that the Monkey King must have remembered wrongly. There's no way he's poisoned. That Professor Chin's notes clearly said that Cindy's agriculture is very backward, and they haven't learned how to use excrement from the Central Plains. Shut up. The Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva couldn't help but reprimand. "You're slandering Buddhism. Entering Avicii is like an arrow. Once you lose your human body, you'll never be able to come out, and you'll only suffer endless retribution." What followed next was the chanting of countless scriptures. The chanting was fast and messy, causing the Spirit Gate Divine Lord to feel dizzy and confused. Without the support of his psyche, the chanting of the scriptures was extremely dry, and the logic was laughable. If the Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva still had his mana, he would naturally be able to use his lianhua to penetrate into the heart of others. However, Chunong had restricted his mana, causing his tongue to become clumsy. The Spirit Gate Divine Lord's head swelled, and he felt a headache coming on. He could only timidly ask, Can I interrupt for a moment?" "Shut up." The Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva was enraged, and his roar was as loud as a great bell. His murderous intent toward the Spirit Gate Divine Lord grew. Looking at the Spirit Gate Divine Lord's ugly appearance, he couldn't help but want to use his mana to send the Spirit Gate Divine Lord into the hell of Avicii. The Spirit Gate Divine Lord widened his only eye in extreme fear. The Mahistemaprapta Bodhisattva wanted to use his mana, but he realized that his body was empty, and there was an uncomfortable feeling of emptiness. He was shocked and thought to himself, "This is bad. That day when my fate was shaved, my wisdom and realm were shaved off. Now that I'm in the Bodhisattva realm, I'm like a tree without roots. My heart is dry, and my meditation is broken. My cultivation is in danger of regressing. This filthy thing isn't worth mentioning in front of me, but now it can trigger the fire in my heart. This is the heavenly demon bow, Sun, destroying my cultivation. This is a great calamity." The Spirit Gate Divine Lord immediately took the opportunity to seal his consciousness and stop feeling the outside world, cutting off the source of his troubles. While the Spirit Gate Divine Lord was still afraid of the Bodhisattva's anger, he saw the strange bird close its eyes, and its consciousness shrunk to the deepest part of the sea of consciousness. It entered a submerged state, and another consciousness that was 100 times weaker took over the body. The Spirit Gate Divine Lord took the opportunity to jump onto the strange bird's head. He cut open the tumor with a scalpel and transplanted his blood vessels and nerves with the Garuda bird's heart, feeling the blood chi and essence chi nourishing his body. The spirit gate divine Lord sighed in satisfaction. The transplant is finally a success. It just left Zhou Bofu's body, and without the nourishment of blood chi, it's too cold. Cold and tired. It's better to have a body. Kidney, I'll do the transplant for you now. Therefore, when he woke up, he felt that there was a vertical, fleshy, crown-like object on his head and a kidney on his back. Garuda King Wade thought about it hatefully, and for a moment, he gritted his teeth. His anger caused his blood chi to rush to his head, and he immediately felt that thing on his head stand up again. He was so embarrassed that he wanted to die, and he couldn't take it anymore. I'll fight it out with you. Garuda King Wade roared in his heart. Disregarding everything else, he rammed his head against a cliff. He flew at an extremely fast speed, and it seemed like he wanted to perish together with his enemy. The rocks on the cliff were as sharp as knives. Although the Garuda bird had a body of steel, it couldn't withstand such a ramming. The spirit gate divine Lord sighed, and there were many laments in it. He lamented that he wasn't understood by the people of the world, and he lamented their ignorance and prejudice. Just as the massacre was about to take place, a demon king that was flying in the sky suddenly stopped in his tracks and said in surprise, "Why does this fellow have such a strange appearance? It actually has a handle on its head. What a waste of its gorgeous feathers. Is it trying to commit suicide by ramming its head against the cliff again? This fellow must have been wronged, and I can't just stand by and watch. Big Brother has gathered all the demon kings to find that monkey king, and he wants me to invite all the bird kings from all over the world. Although this fellow has a wretched appearance and a low cultivation base, he can still be of use." Chapter 926. But before the rock demon king could make a move, he saw the strange bird's peculiar flesh crown suddenly erect, and a milky white brilliance shot out from its single eye. It shrouded the body of the strange bird, like a white cloud barrier. The rock demon king was shocked, and subconsciously withdrew his demonic power to save it. But the strange bird shrouded in milky white clouds crashed into the cliff like a huge hammer, smashing the razor-like rocks on the cliff into pieces. The rock demon king saw the strange bird let out a long, sad, and indignant cry. Like the collision of metal and stone, it had an earth-shattering momentum. The strange bird became more and more indignant. After letting out a long cry, it only slammed its head into the surrounding boulders and cliffs, as if it wanted to destroy the jade and stone together. But under the protection of the milky white brilliance, it smashed into the rocks, and the cliffs collapsed. 1,000-feet-tall mountain was smashed into the belly of the mountain, and in an instant, it broke in the middle and collapsed with a loud bang. Seeing this, not only did the strange bird not stop, but it became more and more frenzied. This made the rock demon king could not help but sigh. Such unyielding, there must be a strange grievance. I really don't know what kind of difficulties can force such a strange bird with such amazing bones and a rock-cracking cry to such a state. I should find out its feelings and do my best to help, so as to befriend such a strange bird. In the future, I will be able to be an arm. Then he opened his mouth and blew, and a dark demonic wind followed, blowing the sky and the earth, making the sun and moon lose their light. The wind blew past the mountain rocks, and the grass and trees were uprooted and swept into the sky. The crazy strange bird had to temporarily stop in the face of this wind, and it was dizzy in this wind, almost unable to open its eyes. The rock demon king used the demonic wind to wrap Wade in front of him and stop the spell. He cupped his fists and said, "Brother, I heard the noise in the sky, and came to check, but I saw that you seemed to have the intention to die, and you hit the cliff with your head, but you released a treasure light to protect yourself, so it was difficult to succeed. I am not talented, and I live in the hanging ridge of the great wilderness, and have become sworn brothers with 6 brothers, to fight against the demon emperor, equal to heaven great emperor Monkey King. People call me Great Sage of Chaotic Heavens, Rock Demon King. Brother, I wonder what grievances you have to suffer such torment. If it's possible, there's no harm in telling me. If there really is a reason, I, as a member of the Heavenly Cycle's feather race, Demon Kingbird, will definitely not stand idly by. Monkey King. Hearing these 3 words, Widgaruda lifted his head, gnashed his teeth, and roared. Monkey King. Monkey King. Heaven's equal demon emperor. Monkey King. You humiliated me like this. You actually humiliated me like this. I'm going to cut you into 1,000 pieces and serve you with wine. Hearing this, the Rock Demon King was shocked and thought to himself, it's that Monkey King again. I wonder what's the inside story that made these Demon Kings hate the Monkey King so much. This monkey was unbridled and unbridled. The Demon Kings of the world had indeed suffered for a long time. With a wave of his arm, so many demon monarchs responded. Every time I see a demon of the same race, I feel hatred. Seeking revenge on Sunday is indeed a blessing from the heavens. It's in line with the will of the demons. Widgaruda vented for a while before calming down. Seeing this uninvited demon, his eyes flashed and he cupped his fists. So it's Rock Demon King. I'm the great golden-winged Rock King of the Aparagodania continent. I came to the Nanjan section continent to visit a friend. When I passed by the Dragon Suppression Mountain, I was kidnapped by the Monkey King and tortured. I only managed to get out of the demon's lair today, so I lost my composure. I see. The Rock Demon King sighed. This Monkey King is utterly heartless. He actually kidnapped a fellow demon and tortured you. Looking at your cultivation, I should be older than you. Since we're both from the rock race, I'll be thick-skinned and call you brother. Brother, what did you suffer at the hands of the Monkey King? Tell me, I'll help you. Widgaruda King took advantage of the situation and immediately burst into tears. He said sorrowfully, Big brother, that son Wukong isn't a son. He's shameless and despicable. He has committed many evil deeds and is extremely evil. I'm a man with a dignified face. After I fell into his hands, this monkey tied me up and brought me up to the stage. He stabbed me with knives and axes and tortured me. He wanted to refine me into a medicinal herb and a puppet. Brother, can you see the filth on my head? It was the one who put it on me. The Rock Demon King exclaimed in shock. There's actually such a tragedy. He was shocked and angry at the same time. He said with lingering fear, I didn't expect Sun Wukong to be so cruel. He looked at the ugly flesh crown of King Jia Luo Lu and could not bear to look at it. No wonder brother touched the cliff with your head. You wanted to smash this flesh crown into pieces. God Lord Jingman couldn't help but explain after listening to Widgaruda King's nonsense. Why are you guys so prejudiced against science? The Monkey King didn't want to harm your life. Isn't it glorious to sacrifice yourself for science? It's far better than your mediocrity. Listen to my advice. Get rid of your prejudice and treat me with sincerity. Bring me around the 3 realms to fulfill your ideals, research science, and comprehend philosophy. I'll guarantee you a brighter future. It's better than being an ignorant fool. Rock Demon King saw the flesh crown's eye open and closed. He stood up in shock. This thing can actually talk. Widgaruda King said angrily, not only can it talk, brother, this filth can even use divine arts to force me. You saw the demonic light that protected me. It was released by it. The Monkey King must have created this evil thing to control the demons in the world. He wants to make him the emperor of the demons. His evil intentions should be put to death. Brother, please help me get rid of this thing. Widgaruda King didn't need to pretend. He was filled with endless grief and indignation. The Rock Demon King's expression was solemn as he said in a low voice, Brother, this isn't just about you. It's about Sun Wukong forcing us Demon Kings to enslave us. It's a matter for all demons. If the Monkey King succeeds, will there still be a place for us to live freely in the 3 realms? Will there still be a place for us to live? Brother, don't worry. I, Rock Demon King, will take responsibility for this. Even if I can't do it, there's still my brother, Bull Demon King, and a few other Demon Kings with high cultivation. We must eradicate this thing. God Lord Jingman couldn't help but say, Listen to me. The Monkey King and I are pursuing the truth of science. We don't want to enslave you. This kind of thinking is sick. Have you heard of persecutory delusion? I'm just looking for a mount. I have no intention of controlling you. Did you hear that? If I want to control you, I have 10,000 ways to make you have no choice. God Lord Jingmen said earnestly to the huge bird he was sitting on. But I've always been tolerant, understanding, and friendly. I've tried to get you to put down your prejudice and discrimination. I've tried to get you to understand and tolerate each other. Chapter 9:27. The rock demon king's face was solemn as he observed the sarcoma on Garuda's head. Brother, he said solemnly, is the root of this filth your heart acupoint? Wade Garuda's face was solemn as he shouted, Brother, there is no need to be afraid. Even without my heart acupoint, I will remove this filth and restore my pure body. The rock demon king tried his best to persuade him. Brother, there is no need to be like this. My brother, the bull demon king, is stronger than me, and this thing is troublesome for me. But with his help, there might be a solution. Brother, think twice. Wade Garuda said, Brother, there is no need to persuade me. Only I know the depth of this filth's roots, and I have the heart to be disgraced. Even if I lose my heart, I will eradicate this thing. God Lord Jingmen also sighed and said, Why do we have to go to this extent where we are irreconcilable enemies? If you don't want me to merge with you, then say it. How would I know what you're thinking if you don't say it? If you say it, I will find a way to find a willing host. Why is there such a deep prejudice against me in the three realms? Forget it. Forget it. You don't have to cut out my heart. I will leave. You still want to leave? Wade Garuda gritted his teeth. Even if I lose my heart, I will grind your bones to dust. Brother, do it. Wade Garuda suddenly shouted. The rock demon king's eyes flashed. The rock feather in his hand slashed down and cut off the sarcoma on Garuda's head. Pure green blood splattered as the sarcoma fell down along with the ugly flesh crown. King Garuda let out a painful cry as the poison accumulated by the poison-eating dragon in his body immediately flared up. A strand of green-black gas rose from his abdomen and instantly stained his chin. Even so, Garuda still tried to kill Lord Jingmen. The hatred in his heart was greater than his life, and even if he died from the poison, Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva could resurrect him after the calamity. But this humiliation was something he would never be able to erase for all eternity. The spirit gate divine Lord sighed. Why bother? Huang Ting's body and spirit had innate magical powers. Primordial Elixir Lord could produce blood essence to increase the strength of the dragon elephant. Brain Lord was divine and had a myriad of thoughts. On the other hand, my divine ability can be big or small, and it's all-pervasive. It's the #1 escape technique amongst the Golden Hall divine abilities. Kidneys. Lord God, Xian jumped out from the hump on King Garuda's back and laughed. My kidney spirit's supernatural power is endless mana and essence chi. Sir God Xian and Sir God Spirit Gate said in unison. Once we combine our divine powers, we will be able to transcend beyond the mortal world. We will be able to form the #1 escape divine power among the Golden Hall's divine powers. Seamless entry and exit, transcending the mortal world. As soon as he finished his sentence, a ray of white light shot out from Sir God Jingmen's eye and enveloped Sir God Xian and himself. In an instant, it shrunk into a ray of white light and disappeared into the void. Garuda spat out a mouthful of green blood. His face was ashen as he said in defeat, Since your escape arts are superb, why did you possess my body and humiliate me? Can't you escape by yourselves? We can't. Sir God Jingmen's voice came from the void. Even if I have the #1 escape technique among the Golden Hall divine abilities, seamless entry and exit, it's no match for the Monkey King's 3 realms in one thought and quantum amorphous cloud. I can pierce through space and enter the tiny wormholes in the void, but the Monkey King is omnipresent. He is entangled with any quantum in the 3 realms. Therefore, the 3 realms is the Monkey King, and the Monkey King is the 3 realms. Originally, there was Gautama Buddha who used his supreme psyche to protect the West, preventing its quantum from entangling with the Monkey King. That's why I wanted to use you to escape to the spirited mountain in the west. Unfortunately, Sir Godbrain just sent me a message. Gautama Buddha of Spirited Mountain is meditating and fighting against an otherworldly demon in neither thought nor thought heaven. Spirited Mountain is no longer protected by anyone, so I have to go to the heaven court. That's why I had to part ways with you. So, King Garuda's face was completely black. The poison of a dragon had entered his brain and cut off his life force. His face was ashen as he said, "You were planning to leave?" There was no reply from the void. It was unknown if Sir Godjingman could not bear to expose the cruel truth, or if he had already left for the heaven court. King Wide Garuda could no longer suppress the Jiao dragon poison in his body. He convulsed and fainted. The Rock Demon King was shocked and shouted, "Brother? Brother?" He tested Garuda's breathing and thought, "Oh no, my brother's heart is being attacked by the poison. He's in grave danger. Only Big Brother can save him now." As soon as he finished, he carried King Wide Garuda on his back and headed towards the east. As he was leading the way, he saw the blood in the sarcoma of his heart slowly coagulating. The color was clear and green, and it was about to condense into a glazed pearl. He knew that this was the key to suppressing the poison in his brother's body, so he swallowed it. The rock race was born to devour all things. There was a huge space in their abdomen, like a space opened up by the cosmos withdrawing sleeve. The rock race was used to hiding their treasures there. Unexpectedly, the pearl was not limited by the rock race's natural supernatural power. It broke through the space and turned into a warm current that flowed into the Rock Demon King's abdomen. The Rock Demon King was shocked, but he did not find anything unusual when he used his mana to check his body. Moreover, saving the demon was more important, so he suppressed his doubts and flew straight to where the Bull Demon King was. He did not know that the Garuda bird of Aparagodania was also known as the Golden-Winged Rock. It was also a branch of the rock race. The nature of the rock race was better than supernatural power. The Tao of reproduction was the highest judgment among their natural instincts. There was a saying that the combination of yin and yang was superior to all other laws. That was why the Rock Demon King was helpless against it. After the Rock Demon King flew away, a golden light flew out from the void and turned into a macaque. It was the Monkey King. The Monkey King laughed. "I came all the way from Ao Nation, and this is the first time I've seen 2 males pregnant. This Rock Demon King is really pitiful, and that Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva has violated the precept of lust. I wonder who that Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva has offended to have such bad luck. But thinking about it, only my black-hearted master would do such a thing." Before the Monkey King could finish laughing, a bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere. It crossed the boundaries of time and space and struck the Monkey King's head, causing him to fall to the ground. The Monkey King hurriedly shouted, "Master, I was wrong. Don't strike me anymore." Hearing this, the faint lightning in the sky dissipated. The Monkey King heaved a sigh of relief and thought, "My master is a narrow-minded person. I can't say bad things about him anymore. The Rock Demon King's pregnancy is really a rare thing. I have to follow behind it and study it secretly. I want to see if I can create a supernatural power that can impregnate those deities and Buddhas." Chapter 928. Devdatta looked at his cousin, Siddhartha Gautama, sitting between the twin sala trees in Bana City. His face was lonely as he sat cross-legged in front of the Gautama Buddha. After Sakyamuni, Devdatta was the most intelligent and talented person among the many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who were reincarnated with Buddha into the mortal world. Even the 4 great Bodhisattvas like Samantabhadra and Manjushri would find it hard to break through the realm of truth and enter the lowest level of the 3 realms' dimensional entanglement. Outside of Brahma, they would be able to see Brahma and confront Buddha Tathagata in Brahma. Only Devdatta could come into contact with the realm of reality. He was just one step away from breaking through all nothingness and entering the highest realm of colorless dhyana, escaping into the 3 realms of Anapanjana and Anapanjana to lend Rulai a hand. However, when he told Sakya, Mani, and the other disciples about this, he was unanimously opposed. Sariputta had even used Sakyamani's last words to forbid him from searching for the place where Sakyamani's consciousness had gone after entering meditation. However, Devdatta was the #1 person in the Buddhist sect, second only to the Gautama Buddha. He had many followers. Even the Great Lane Temple of Spirited Mountain, Devdatta, was the leader of the 8 great protectors. Even the 4 great bodhisattvas and the Mastamaprapta Bodhisattva could only lead the Garuda tribe, but Devdatta could lead an entire tribe by himself. A beautiful and dignified monk quietly came behind him. Devdatta didn't even open his eyes and said, "Ananda, do you still want to persuade me?" Outside the colorless realm, the revered, one of the worlds beyond heavens, Brahman, yet you don't allow me to help. Are you afraid that I will obtain enlightenment from the revered one and destroy the nonsense of Shariputra and Subhuti? Ananda stooped down and touched Devdatta's feet. He said respectfully, "Brother, in the past, Buddha and the Jade Emperor had a discussion. We asked the sky-bearing empire to follow the example of the Hutu Emperor and give up samsara. You once objected angrily, saying that the 6 paths of reincarnation's division of good and evil is not the right path. All living beings arise from fate and perish because of fate. Everything is impermanent. Every reincarnation should be a brand new individual. I don't want to bring the troubles of my previous life to the future. Great Monarch Hutu is selfless and selfless. She sees the living beings as nothing but dogs. That is the most benevolent heart, far surpassing the 6 paths reincarnation. The revered, one of His Majesty's Dipankar ancient Buddha was annihilated, seizing the 4 protectors of the celestial being, Ajura, Kinnara, and Dragon tribes. Only after he was reborn with the Biji Buddha did he bestow the Kinnara and Dragon tribes to him. Later on, before the 300 tribulations, the revered one of the world discussed with the Jade Emperor to set up the net of karma so that all living beings would be rewarded for their good and evil deeds. You spoke out against it, saying that all living beings are impermanent. Therefore, they are sorrowful and suffering. Being able to give birth to a transcendent heart is the first cause of the 4 wonderful truths. Therefore, opportunities are impermanent, karma is impermanent, and there is no such thing as karma. The revered one of the world took away your Dragon tribe's protector as punishment. Now that Manjushri and Samanabhadra have obtained scriptures from the outer world cult master, they want to set up the karmic retribution of good and evil in order to promote the Bodhisattva hammer and the path of Mahayana. They want to open up the Pure Land to enlighten all living beings. Shariputra, Subhuti, and the rest agreed. You scolded them in front of them, saying that the Pure Land is an external path and that reincarnation can't save all living beings. There are only 3 seals, impermanence, anatta, and nirvana, to transcend the sea of suffering. Devdatta finally opened his eyes and stared at Anand angrily. The mind is free from the mind, free from worries, free from thoughts, free from desires, free from desires, free from desires. No gain, no life. Bodhi, all illusions are complete. There's no coming nor going. The nature of life and death is real. There's no life and no death. The mind shows the Tripitaka. The Tripitaka is silent, called nirvana. This is the right path of enlightenment. The Dharma can only enlighten oneself, not others. Sakyamani is an enlightened being, not a deity. The 3 subtleties and 3 bodhi of Amudra do not seek external help, nor do they seek Bodhisattva's help. Instead, they seek inward and learn Buddhism. The other side of the sea of bitterness, with the enlightenment of Sakyamani, was like a bright lamp in the sea of bitterness, illuminating the path ahead, but he could not help. To guide people to the Nirvana realm boat is to rely on one's own heart and strength. Nowadays, some people say that the wisdom of Sakyamani is like the golden bridge on the sea of bitterness. The Nirvana realm is not in the silence of Nirvana, but in the 3 realms and the Pure Land. This is the saying of the heterodox demons. The three realms is a sea of bitterness, and the Pure Land is also a sea of bitterness. Manjushri, Samantabhadra, and deceiving all living beings use the Pure Land of the sea of bitterness as the shore of the Paramitha. Only by not being able to attain enlightenment and not knowing nirvana can one transcend the troubles. What an evil demon! The karma of samsara, the cause and effect of good and evil are constant, not impermanent. The Bodhisattva hammer and the great vehicle of salvation say that there is self, not non-self. The Pure Land and the land of ultimate bliss say that there is Paramitha, not nirvana. Devdatta opened his eyes wide and shouted angrily, "Isn't that against the three seals?" Using the words of gods and Buddhas to deceive all living beings in the three realms. Bodhisattvas should be killed. The words of the revered one of the world. In addition to the three seals, there is also the seal of reality. Ananda explained. Who is the revered one? Devdatta asked indifferently. Is it Buddha Tathagata, or Sakyamuni, or Gautama Siddhartha? Ananda exclaimed in shock. Devdatta, do you doubt Buddha? Like 1,000 tribulations ago, the revered one of the world preached to me. He once said, if you obtain the Buddha's seal, you will be unobstructed. If you obtain the king's seal, there will be no difficulties. Even if it is not what the revered one of the world has said, those who have obtained the three Dharma seals can also be regarded as Buddha's words. Even if it is Buddha's words, those who violate the three Dharma seals are also heretical. Devdatta said calmly, this is my revered one of the world. After I was demoted from the position of Dipankara ancient Buddha, I was once disheartened. I meditated on the three tribulations and wanted to undergo nirvana and perish, following the venerable of the world. Finally, in meditation, he thoroughly understood that the revered one of the world was the one who had attained the truth of the world. He was Sakyamuni. Before 1,000 tribulations, the revered one was still the revered one. After 1,000 tribulations, Tathagata was no longer the revered one. Gods are not Buddhas. Buddha is an enlightened one, not a god, nor can he enlighten people. Today's Buddha, Tathagata, is the Buddha's troubles, the manifestation of your troubles. It is the Buddha in the hearts of all living beings, but it is not my Buddha. It is a devil. Devdatta. Ananda stood up in shock and said, are you going to betray Buddha? Ananda. Devdatta smiled and said, my younger brother, after I understood this principle, my meditation was shaken. When I became an ancient Buddha, I could already meditate to the four skies and beyond the colorless realm to see the truth of the world. After my meditation was shaken, I was trapped in the colorless realm. Now that the extraterrestrial evil demon, Brahman, is attacking, I can finally verify whether Buddha Tathagata is the revered one of the world. If Buddha Tathagata is close to Brahman, then Buddha Tathagata is an unorthodox evil demon. The revered one of the troubles of becoming Buddha. If Buddha Tathagata is not Brahman, then I will die in nirvana and leave in peace. Devdatta smiled and said to Ananda. Behind him, 500 Buddhas and 3,000 guardians of Dharmakinara walked out. They were all his followers. The ancient Buddhas of Spirited Mountain were now led by Biji Buddha. They sat around Gautama Siddhartha and Devdatta, watching the result of his meditation to find Buddha. There were 3,000 Buddhas in Spirited Mountain, and each of them was different. In the past, there were 1,000 Buddhas in the ancient Buddhas. After Dipankara fell, 300 of them left. After being reprimanded by the Buddhas, another 200 of them left. Now there were only 500 Biji Buddhas. Under the withering and flourishing trees, Devdatta died and went to the anti-sattva heaven. Ananda's meditation was shaken. He looked at Devdatta's corpse in shock. After a day and night, Ananda saw Devdatta's corpse open his eyes and shed tears of blood. Biji Buddha Kinara descended from the sky. He cried out 3 times in grief and laughed crazily. He shouted, the revered one of the world is dead. Buddhas, Follow me to destroy spirited mountain. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are evil followers. Only impermanence can awaken one's heart and make one realize righteousness. I want all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to sink into the sea of bitterness. Spirited mountain and pure land become, exist, and disappear. All Buddhas are impermanent. Good and evil are impermanent. Cause and effect are impermanent. Follow me. Follow me to break the 6 realms and confuse good and evil. Turn into an external evil and set up a trial for Buddhas. The righteous Dharma is dead and the unorthodox path is rampant. The final trial is impossible. I am the lawless heaven. Chapter 9:29. In the Garden of Solitude, a bhikkhu rushed in and knelt before Fu Lu. He said with a trembling voice, Venerable Sariputta sent news that Devdatta and his 500 disciples have joined the devil. They have injured Venerable Ananda and swore to destroy Spirited Mountain and make all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas fall into the sea of bitterness. You're late, Fu Lu said with his back facing him. The bhikkhu raised his head in shock and carefully walked to Fu Lu. A black palm print was imprinted on Fu Lu's chest, shattering his golden body. Fu Lu was long dead. Just when he was scared out of his wits, Fu Lu's broken golden body suddenly said, Don't be afraid. This is my last thought before I perish. I'll leave it to you. Devdatta has already joined the devil. He came to discuss Dharma with me. I'm known as the number 1 under the revered Buddha, but I couldn't defeat Devdatta's shocking evil thoughts. Later on, I forced myself to fight, but he broke my golden body and perished in 3 moves. Pass my last words to Sariputta. After joining the devil, Devdatta's supernatural power has improved tremendously. Not even Sariputta, Subhuti, Mahaka Kasyapa, Mugjianlian, and Analu could defeat him. Protect Venerable Analu. He has the number 1 heavenly eye and is the only one who can see through Devdatta's movements. After me, Devdatta's next target is him. Mahaka Kasyapa can distinguish deep meaning and apply it to Taoism. That's why he's known as the number 1 in the discussion of meaning. I'm afraid he's already in trouble before me. Because we're the best at discussing Dharma, Devdatta tried to refute the Dharma passed down by the revered Buddha. That's why he came to us first. What Devdatta wants is to destroy the Mahayana realm. We, the 10 great disciples, are all Shunwen Mahayana and Yuanjua Mahayana. Devdatta is an evil follower. He wants to shake our Zen hearts and turn us into his minions. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of Spirited Mountain are all disciples of Mahayana. The Bodhisattva hammer is an outsider in Devdatta's eyes. He won't subdue them and must kill them all. Devdatta, a disciple of the 3 Mahayana, led the Bodhisattva Mahayana to rebel against Buddhism, fighting for the support of the Arhats of the Vajrayana Mahayana, 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 Mahayana. Go and tell Shariputra about my worries. I'm afraid that among the top 10 disciples, there might be someone who will side with Devdatta. After Fu Luna finished speaking, he kowtowed and bowed his head. He did not speak anymore, as if a trace of ignorance and vexation had already left. The Bhikkhu disciple knelt for a long time, but he did not hear Fu Luna's mantra anymore. He had no choice but to endure his grief, get up, and prepare to leave this dangerous place. Before he left and closed the door of the hall, he suddenly heard Fu Lu's voice that seemed to have hesitated for a long time and finally could not help but warn him, Be careful of Ananda and row. The bhikkhu looked up, but Fu Luna's golden body was dim and unresponsive. He did not know if it was Fu Lu's last message or his illusion. A day later, Shariputra, Mugjianlian, and Subhuti arrived from Vaishali city. When they saw the broken golden body of Fu Luna, their faces were filled with anger and grief. Shariputra went forward and asked Fu Luna's golden body to be placed together with the golden body of Jiazhanyan that he brought. He said to the disciples of the revered one who descended with the revered one, Devdatta has already betrayed Buddha. Fu Luna and Jiazhanyan were both harmed by him and have already entered the cycle of samsara. The disciples all revealed a sorrowful expression. They put their palms together and remained silent. The atmosphere was very depressing. Shariputra saw the sorrow in the disciples' hearts. So he stood at the head and said solemnly, 2 days ago, Ananda came to me and told me that Devdatta had disobeyed the revered one's decree and entered the Dhyana heaven to find the place where the revered one fought against Brahman. After he came out of the Dhyana heaven, he immediately betrayed Buddha. Mujamlian said, Devdatta had slandered Buddha several times and questioned the revered one's true words and decrees. The revered one had issued decrees to belittle him twice. It's not surprising that he would commit such a great betrayal. We should invite the bodhisattvas of Spirited Mountain to come and slay this devil together. He will be banished to hell and suffer immeasurable suffering. Shariputra did not act rashly. Instead, he pondered and said, Devdatta came to this world as the cousin of the revered one. Moreover, he has always been highly respected. Many bhikkhus and bhikkhunis are confused by him. Many Buddhas and Arhats of Spirited Mountain are also shaken. Now, calming the hearts of the people is the most important thing. Otherwise, if more sons of Buddha follow him into the devil, it will be a great disaster for Spirited Mountain Buddhism. Mujamlian said, May I ask, senior apprentice brother, how can we calm the hearts of the people? Shariputra pondered for a long time and said, Before the 1,000 tribulations, Devdatta was the Dipankara ancient Buddha. He was the leader of the ancient Mahayana. Now that the revered one has comprehended the Mahayana, Bodhisattva Mahayana, Devdatta has questioned and rebelled. There are many followers of the ancient Buddhas. Now, in Spirited Mountain, the ancient Buddhas are living in seclusion. But if Devdatta raises his flag, other than his 500 followers, many will be shaken. Therefore, Devdatta cannot be the Dipankara ancient Buddha. Dipankara ancient Buddha has already perished. Mahakasyapa stepped out and said, Junior apprentice brother is here. Shariputra ordered him, Go to Spirited Mountain and look for the relic left by the revered one when he ordered the Dipankara ancient Buddha to perish. This relic is the former position of Devdatta and can restrain him. Shariputra continued, Devdatta entered the devil, but he was limited to Bodhisattva, Mahayana, and Arhat Buddhahood. He did not see the Mahayana and used the Hinayana Buddhism to question the Mahayana Buddhism. You must know that the Mahayana is above the Hinayana. For example, the ox cart comes out of the house of fire. Using the Hinayana Dharma Mudra to doubt the Mahayana Bodhisattva Tao is like asking for alms and doubting the boat. It is self-righteous. But now, the Arhats who have cultivated the Hinayana still have doubts about the true Dharma. Therefore, we cannot say so. After thinking for a long time, Shariputra ordered Aboa, Venerable Aboa, go and tell the disciples that Devdatta committed the 5 sins of treason and plotted to kill the revered one. He ordered 500 disciples to throw stones to kill the Buddha, but failed. Then, he threw a huge stone at Mount Jiraiya. Although the stone was blocked by the deity Jin Pila, the Buddha's foot was injured and bled. Then, when the Buddha entered the king's temple, he released a wild elephant to harm him. However, the elephant surrendered to the Buddha and failed. After the revered one reprimanded him, he did not change his evil thoughts and beat the lotus flower bhikkhuni to death. He also poisoned his 10 fingers and claws, intending to hurt the Buddha by worshipping the Buddha's foot. However, the Buddha's foot was as hard as a rock. Devdatta broke his own fingers and died there. Aboa was shocked. Devdatta died? Then how do you explain that evil demon? Shariputra sneered. That evil demon is King Kinara of the 8 guardians of Spirited Mountain. After Kinara cultivated to become a bodhisattva, he did not listen to my advice and went to see Brahman. Because he saw Brahman, he fell into the devil and called himself Wutian. Only then can we eliminate Devdatta's influence and prevent him from bewitching the Arhat. Aboa obeyed and left. Muchian said, But that evil demon is rampant and we cannot let him go. Senior martial brother, Please invite the bodhisattvas of Spirited Mountain with me to subdue this demon. Shariputra said, although Devdatta is a great threat, that Brahmin who transformed into Brahmin is an unparalleled demon that forced the revered one to meditate. Also, that immeasurable heavenly lord who came from the west is not a good person either. Compared to those two demons, Devdatta is not a big threat. If we only pay attention to him, the other two demons will take the opportunity to cause trouble and we will be in danger. Muchian said, what does Senior Marshal Brother think? Chapter 9:30. The rock demon king flew to where the demons were gathered. His speed was extremely fast, and with a flap of his wings, he could fly 90,000 miles away. Although he was carrying the burden of Garuda, it only took a little more effort. Halfway there, the rock demon king sensed something was wrong. He endured the nausea churning in his stomach and spread his 3 wings into 2, rushing to where the bull demon king was gathered. The bull demon king was having a banquet with a group of demon kings when he heard his subordinate report. The 3 kings are back. He hurriedly got up to welcome them. Just as he got up, he saw the rock demon king stumbling over with his forehead beaded with sweat. The bull demon king went up to support him, exclaiming, "Third brother, why did you come back so weak? Why didn't you invite the bird kings over? I'm quite eloquent and have a rough understanding of the art of medicine. I wonder if Brother Nyo is willing to let me try?" Among the guests invited by the bull demon king was a pure white old fox. He was the most senior in kind. It was said that he had lived for 10,000 years, hence the title of 10,000 Fox King. Seeing the rock demon king's bad expression, he invited him. "Then I'll leave it to you, sir." The bull demon king had also heard of the 10,000 Fox King's abilities. He was old and shrewd, and the fox race was the most cunning. This 10,000 Fox King definitely had some skills. The 10,000 Fox King immediately helped the rock demon king to sit down and try to feel his pulse. Suddenly, he showed a look of surprise and frowned, causing the bull demon king to worry. After a long while, he let go of the rock demon king's wrist, his expression uncertain. He gave the bull demon king a look and followed him out of the cave, avoiding the rock demon king. The bull demon king said worriedly, "Sir, how is my brother?" The 10,000 Fox King hesitated. He's fine. It's just that he was in too much of a hurry and affected the fetus." "The fetus is affected." Bull Demon King's expression was as if he had been struck by lightning. He asked in a daze, "What do you mean by affected the fetus is affected?" He came back to his senses and exclaimed, "How can my brother have the fetus?" 10,000 Fox King, you have to give me a proper explanation. Did you make a mistake? The 10,000 Fox King thought for a moment and asked, "Brother Nyo, think carefully. What is the original form of your brother, Rock Demon King?" The Bull Demon King was stunned. "Of course, he is the original form of the rock. What does this have to do with the fetal chi?" The 10,000-year-old Fox King was experienced and knowledgeable. He said softly, "I've heard that there's a type of golden-winged rocks in the West. They're neither male nor female, and they don't need to be nurtured by yin and yang to become pregnant." "So?" The Bull Demon King's expression crumbled as he said, "So even my brother can get pregnant?" At this time, the Rock Demon King had already caught his breath. He shouted, "Big Brother Ox King, don't worry about me. Saving people is more important. On my way back, I met a fellow clansman. He was heavily injured and is on the verge of death. Please save him, Ox King." The 10,000-year-old Old Fox King nodded repeatedly and said, "That's right. It must have been a meeting of 2 golden-winged rocks. One took its crown and placed it in the belly of the Pung King, thus giving birth to it." The Bull Demon King rushed out to take a look and was instantly shocked. An insensible Demon King beside him joked, "Isn't this the strange bird that you hit?" The Bull Demon King's expression was awkward. He hurriedly signaled to the Demon Kings beside him with his eyes, telling them to pull the insensible one away. At this time, the 10,000-year-old Fox King had already consciously gone forward to save him. After a round of massage, the greenish-black chi on King Jialoalo's face subsided. Only then did the Bull Demon King have time to consider. "Not good, Brother Rock King actually found a lover the moment he left. If he knew that I had accidentally hurt my brother's wife, wouldn't it ruin our brotherhood? He slowly walked into the cave abode. Seeing the anxious and expectant look on the Rock Demon King's face, he felt even more guilty. He said gently, "Brother Rock, don't worry. With the Fox King here to save you, your wife should be fine. As for you, don't disturb the fetus." His words were all over the place. What, your wife? Disturb the fetus, and so on. The Rock Demon King was confused and very confused. It was said that a pregnant woman would be stupid for 3 years. After the Rock Demon King's belly gave birth to the fetus, his reaction was much slower. He lowered his head and thought for a long time before coming back to his senses. He said in shock, "Brother, what nonsense are you talking about? If you continue like this, don't blame me for disregarding the brotherhood and falling out with you." The Bull Demon King said, "Rock King, don't be anxious. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have accidentally hurt my sister-in-law after drinking." This entanglement and misunderstanding made the Rock Demon King's expression change on the spot. He picked up the phoenix wing gilded drum and was about to fall out with the Bull Demon King. A group of Demon Kings went up and tried to stop and persuade him. It was very chaotic. The Bull Demon King was in the wrong after all. He thought that his accidental injury had been exposed, so he didn't dare to fight back. The group of people argued for a long time before explaining. The Monkey King cast an invisibility spell and crossed his legs to watch the show from the top of the cave. After the Rock Demon King knew the truth, he was completely dumbfounded on the spot. He circulated his demonic chi to disperse the fetus in his belly. When he used his magic power, he felt pain. The 10,000-year-old Fox King hurriedly stopped him. "Rock King, don't move recklessly. The fusion of the fetus is part of your nature. It's entangled with your life. If you continue, I'm afraid you'll lose half your life." The Rock Demon King shouted, "So be it. If people find out and give birth to a child, would I still have the face to be a demon? Fox King, I know your medical skills are profound. Quickly help me abort this evil fetus, lest I'll be ashamed for half my life and live a life worse than death." The 10,000-year-old Fox King had never done such a strange thing as abort a man's fetus. He turned pale with fright. "Even if you abort the fetus, you're a man. You don't have a birth canal, so how are you going to get out? Moreover, I've never been a midwife before, so I have no experience." The Rock Demon King saw that his belly was getting bigger and said in panic, "How could it be so fast? The waves of turbulence are very tight. It must be the pain of breaking the formation. I've only swallowed that sarcoma for half a day. Why am I having such a sudden rush?" The 10,000-year-old Fox King explained, "You've forgotten that the birds and feather species all transform from eggs, unlike viviparous birth where they have a shape when they're born. The fetal chi will be used to form an egg in your belly, and after the egg is laid, the fetus will be nurtured in the egg. Even the goldenrod is like that. I'm afraid it's going to be born in half a day." The Rock Demon King's face was ashen. He hardened his heart, took out a dagger, and was about to cut open his belly to take out the fetus. The Bull Demon King couldn't bear to see this, and said, "Brother, this is your flesh and blood fetus, after all. How can you be so cruel to take out a bloody ball? Isn't it frightening? Listen to me. I have a brother who lives in the Western Mother Kingdom of Kunlun. There are only women in the Western Mother Kingdom, and there are no men. There's a Zimu River in the country, which is nurtured by the Taiyin Chi. If you eat it, you'll feel abdominal pain and fetus. There's always a counter to everything in the world. The Western Mother Kingdom has a Mount Jiang, and there's a hole in the mountain. In the hole, there's a spring of childbirth that can transform the fetal chi. The Western Mother Kingdom has the protection of the Almighty, and they have some relations with the Western Mother Kingdom in the sky. Even though my brother, true immortal Ru Yi, begged me a few times to help him occupy Mount Jiang, so that he could be worshipped by the Western Mother Kingdom who are about to give birth, I didn't allow it. Now that you're in trouble, I'll definitely get the spring of childbirth, so that you can transform the fetal chi." Chapter 9:31. The few Demon Kings felt that it was a good idea and requested Bull Demon King to head to the Western Mother Kingdom to look for immortal Ru Yi so that they could conquer the spring of childbirth in Mount Jiang. Even if they could not conquer it, they had to obtain the spring water to dissolve the chi in Rock Demon King's womb. Because of this, they were very anxious. Rock Demon King looked like he was about to give birth in less than half a day. Among the Demon Kings, the one with the fastest speed was the unlucky Rock Demon King. If the others were any slower, they would be in trouble. The journey to the Western Mother Kingdom was about a few thousand miles. If not for the likes of Monkey King and Rock Demon King, they would not be able to make it in time. Just as the Demon Kings were fretting, a small demon came in and reported, "Mahamayuri from the Western Heaven Mystical Mountain has arrived." Some Demon Kings who did not know what was going on were shocked. Why are there people from Mystical Mountain here? Are they here? Bull Demon King saw the Demon Kings discussing among themselves and quickly explained, "You may not know this, but Mahamayuri is a hero among the demons. There are many creatures in the world, including birds and beasts. Chilin is the leader of the beasts, and Phoenix is the leader of the birds. This Mahamayuri is the descendant of the Phoenix. When he was born, he was the most charismatic. He was a glutton and ate everyone within 45 miles. He was a famous demon king among the demons. After that, Buddha was also eaten by him when he was cultivating in Snowy Mountain. Ha! A hero does not boast about his past achievements." Suddenly, a loud laughter could be heard from outside the cave. The person walked into the cave and saw that he was wearing a green feather cape that was decorated with dozens of gemstones. He was extremely tall, and his human form was extremely handsome. It was Mahamayuri. Although Mahamayuri was titled as Buddha Mother, he was a male demon. It was a coincidence that he met the current Rock Demon King. When Mahamayuri saw Bull Demon King, he cupped his fists and smiled. "In the past, I did not know the immensity of heaven and earth and swallowed Buddha. It was only because of his mercy that I managed to escape. Now that I am being worshipped and ordered around by others in Mystical Mountain, it is not a glorious thing. Who in the world knows me, and who doesn't know you? The great sage who pacifies heavens, Bull Demon King. If we're talking about a hero among demons, it's definitely you, Bull Demon King." Although Mahamayuri had an awkward background as he was from the Spirited Mountain, it was still all right for the demons to flatter each other. When it came to the deities and saints of the Spirited Mountain in the heavenly court, they were the ones with the most face. Now, the demons were like a group of mountain bandits. When they talked about the joys of being officials, of course they would belittle them verbally, but in their hearts, they were jealous and hateful. Now, there was really a fellow Taoist who had mixed in with the immortals and returned to his hometown in glory. If it was a little more arrogant, it might be able to make these country bumpkins have a common enemy and make it look bad. However, Mahamayuri was indeed a person who knew how to conduct himself. He was an anomaly, yet he was able to make a name for himself in the Spirited Mountain system. Naturally, he was already very slippery. After a round of flattery, not only did the Bull Demon King gain face, but he also gained the face of the envious Demon Kings. Naturally, it would be like a hero among the heroes, and everyone would have to give him some face. Therefore, there was a Buddha Mother Mahamayuri on one side, and a Phoenix Peacock King on the other. It was a beautiful and harmonious scene. On one hand, Peacock King was a noble who had mixed in with the Spirited Mountain system and had the title of Buddha Mother. On the other hand, he was a descendant of the Phoenix. Among the Demon Kings, he was considered an orthodox and extremely noble figure. At least among the Demon Kings who had turned into demons, they could not help but feel inferior when they saw him. It was as if they had seen half of their master, and they were naturally a little short of breath. After Mahamayuri saw Rock Demon King, he immediately frowned and pondered. After a long time, he said, "Brother Rock is my close friend. Among everyone here, my escape technique is the fastest. Logically speaking, I should bear the responsibility for this matter. However, I can't bear it. My mother was born with twins. One is my peacock, and the other is my brother, Rock. Therefore, when I saw Brother Rock, I felt close to him. Although it was a freak accident, it is still my race's bloodline." When Rock Demon King heard this, he almost cried. He shouted, "Brother, if this evil fetus is born, how am I going to live in the future? Mahamayuri hesitated and said, "Why don't you recognize him under my name and be my god brother?" Rock Demon King was on the verge of tears and shouted, "Brother, just take me. Quickly give birth to this evil fetus. Don't let it disgrace my reputation." Mahamayuri held Rock Demon King's hand and sighed. "I know my brother's pain the best. In the past, when Gautama Buddha cut open my back and gave me the title of Buddha Mother, how am I compared to you? Your evil fetus can be given birth, but my evil fetus still wants to kill his mother. When I came to Spirited Mountain, I saw my enemy sitting on the lotus platform. She said that she was Buddha Mother, but she was no different from a servant. How could I not feel aggrieved? If you still insist on going your own way, then I will get the fallen embryo spring for you." Rock Demon King knelt on the ground and said, "Thank you, brother." Peacock Demon King immediately prepared to set off. Before he left, he said, "I came to see all the heroes, not only to participate in the grand event, but also to inform everyone of a major event that happened in the three realms." Bull Demon King looked around and said solemnly, "Peacock King, please speak. Everyone knows that Taishang Laojun reincarnated into the mortal world and took the form of Laozi to travel to the west. However, he provoked the cult leader from beyond the heavens and traveled with him. The cult leader, immeasurable heavenly lord, accepted the demon monkey from Ao Lai Nation, the Monkey King, as his disciple. On the way to the west, the monkey caused havoc in the divine court of Mount Tai and Ling Shao Palace. In order to keep the peace, the Jade Emperor conferred him the title of Heaven's equal Demon Emperor. This was the reason why everyone was dissatisfied and wanted to rebel against the Demon Emperor. Peacock King slowly explained the cause of the demon gathering. Bull Demon King nodded. Peacock King's knowledge is correct. It was because of the immorality of the Monkey King that we rebelled against him. Peacock King continued, "Then do you know that the cult leader from beyond the heavens has a Sambhovikeya? He is a demon among demons, a demon that has never been heard of in the three realms. This demon and the immeasurable cult leader are separated into good and evil. This is because as the Tao rises 1 foot, the demon rises 10. No matter how powerful the immeasurable heavenly lord is, his Sambhovikeya is 100 times more powerful than him." Bull Demon King and the other demons were shocked. They looked at each other and said, "There is such a thing? That immeasurable heavenly lord is already lawless enough to teach a Monkey King. There is actually a Sambhovikeya that is stronger than him? Doesn't that mean there are millions and millions of Monkey King?" Thinking of this, Bull Demon King couldn't help but shiver. One Monkey King was already incredible. Now that there was another ancestor of the Monkey King, would the three realms be thrown into chaos? Mahamayuri said seriously, "A few days ago, the 4 bodhisattvas of Mount Lingshan, Manjushri, Samanabhadra, and Ksitigarbha had a gamble with the immeasurable heavenly lord. However, they accidentally attracted the attention of the immeasurable heavenly lord. He cast his gaze down from beyond the heavens and turned it into Brahman. It almost overturned the three realms and overturned the universe, turning everything in this world into a dream of Brahman. Such a shocking matter naturally attracted the Buddha. A few days ago, the Buddha had already reincarnated as the Prince of Sindhu, Siddhartha. The Arhats and ancient Buddhas of Mount Lingshan also followed him and reincarnated. Only the Bodhisattvas and Buddhas were left to guard Mount Lingshan. After the Brahman from beyond the heavens descended, even the reincarnated Buddha, Siddhartha, had no choice but to go beyond the heavens to fight against the Brahman. Just the day before yesterday, the leader of the ancient Buddhas, Bodhisattva Kinara, went against the warning of the Buddha's last words and went to the heavens to see the Buddhas. However, he didn't expect to see the Brahman. Thus, he fell into the devil and changed his name to Wutian. He led the ancient Pita Buddhas to rebel, attacked Mount Lingshan, and killed all the Buddhas. That's why I was left outside of Mount Lingshan, not daring to return to that troublesome place. The Tathagata Buddha actually died? This Wutian is a real man. If we help Wutian and attack Mount Lingshan, we can all become Buddhas. The news suddenly came crashing down like a storm. shocking the group of demon kings. After regaining their senses, the short-sighted demon kings were all breathing rapidly, and their limbs were weak. Their minds were only filled with the scenes of looting and killing at Mount Lingshan. Only the Bull Demon King and a few other demon kings who were still relatively clear-headed could deeply consider such earth-shattering news and the turmoil that would be triggered in the three realms. Before they could sort out the situation, a demon soldier came to reporting to all the kings. The Heavenly Court has sent news that the Buddha of Mount Lingshan has come to ask the Jade Emperor to issue a decree to borrow the heaven-equaling Demon Emperor to pacify Mount Lingshan and stop the Luo Demon King's rebellion. The Jade Emperor has already agreed and will issue the decree immediately. Chapter 9:32. The Buddhas of Spirited Mountain are dreaming. They want to make me the scapegoat. Wukong, who was at the side, heard everything clearly and couldn't help but sneer. This kind of unlucky thing that could be figured out by just using his brain was definitely his teacher playing tricks behind the scenes. How could the Jade Emperor dare to find him to take the blame? Could it be that the Jade Emperor's wings had hardened after a few days of not giving him any trouble? Goku scratched his ears and cheeks. He pondered for a while and decided to explore the depth of the water first. If it was really like what the Peacock King said, that it wasn't his teacher who did it, but the demonic sense, then who knew how deep the water was? With his teacher's unfathomable foundation, he might be able to drown the Emperor equal to heaven. Wukong knew his grandmaster very well, so he immediately decided to test him. If the waters were too deep, then the Jade Emperor could go to whoever he wanted. Old Son would not listen to him and would not give him face. Also, the Zimu River is a good thing. This clone will follow Mama Yuri and find a chance to swap the childbirth spring for him. I want to see what the pregnant Rock Demon King will give birth to after drinking the Zimu River. With a single thought from the hair body, the main body rose into the air. The quantum spiritual light erratic cloud moved, and it flew toward the western heaven's spiritual mountain. The Spirited Mountain was an incredible place. The great lightning Toon Temple was magnificent and majestic. It stood tall on Mount Meru, towering above the clouds. It was surrounded by thousands of beautiful peaks, strange rocks, and countless pagodas. The Buddha's blood scriptures on the cliffs shone brightly. The Dharma gate of the great Thunderclap Temple was wide open. There were often bhikkhus and bhikkhunis sitting on the ground, praying outside the temple. Dharma Protector Jialan and glaring Vajra stood on the left and right. Buddhas and bodhisattvas were chanting Sanskrit in the vast and magnificent temple, echoing throughout the Sumru Dharma realm. The world-honored one was sitting in the main hall, surrounded by 4 people, offering reverence, admiration, and sitting cross-legged. He entered the samadhi state of boundless righteousness, his body and mind unmoved. At that time in the great Thunderclap Temple, there were bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasai, upoi, heavenly dragon, yiksha, kyankapa, ajura, garuda, kinara, Mahabharaja, man and human, the little kings, the Chakravarti Saint King, and the common people. They were all lined up in order, putting their palms together in delight, listening to the profound truth of the Venerable Buddha's mantra. At that time, the heavenly rain mandala flower, the Maha mandala flower, the red spider lily, the Maha mandala flower, the loose Buddha, and the masses. In the Buddha world, there were 6 types of tremors. They were immeasurably bright, immeasurably pure, immeasurably wondrous, and the Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and all living beings praised Tathagata. However, when the Monkey King stepped onto the pure land of Spirited Mountain, he didn't see the immeasurably bright praise. The mandala flower, red spider lily, and Maha mandala flower that always shrouded the sky above the great Thunderclap Temple had already withered and dispersed. The Monkey King stepped on the stairs of the great Thunderclap Temple, and the red, white, and golden petals of the mandala flower and the mandala flower were scattered around his feet. It reminded one of the grand occasion of the heavenly rain mandala flower when the Venerable Buddha was preaching. The Monkey King used his hand to pluck a petal from the petals that were swirling around in the wind. The faint golden petal laid on the palm of the Monkey King, leaving a faint golden mark on the rough monkey claw. The Monkey King picked up the mandala flower petal and felt it was slightly moist. He rubbed it with his hand, and the warm, golden blood dripped onto his fingers, revealing the original red color of the petal. So, the blood of the Buddha is golden in color? The Monkey King sighed faintly. He lifted his head and saw the golden mandala flower being blown by the wind like rain. A fragrance wafted into his nose, but it wasn't the heavenly sandalwood incense or the remaining incense used to worship the Buddhas. Instead, it was the heavenly fragrance and tranquil fragrance. The blood of the Buddhas was like golden-colored glass, pure and unhindered, which was why the fragrance could be produced. This fragrance was the Buddha's fragrance, a wondrous fragrance, a dharmic incense. It couldn't be emitted unless a Buddha was lit. There were also the golden bricks and colored glass on the ground and the golden treasures on the stairs. They weren't made of gold, but stained with the blood of the Buddha. The melodious music of the spirited mountain's fairies seemed to still be ringing in his ears, but when he listened to it again, it seemed to be an echo of the past. The huge thunderclap temple was dead silent, and only the sound of the mandala flower rubbing against the ground could be heard. The sky was dusky, and it was filled with inauspiciousness. Wukong walked up the stairs. High up in the Great Lane Temple, there seemed to be the figures of Buddhas swaying. The Great Lane Temple was still golden and dazzling, dignified and solemn. Even if the dim light from the sky shone here, it would reflect a golden brilliance. The Great Lane Temple didn't lose its color in the slightest. But in the eyes of the Monkey King, the sky and earth were like blood-red, murderous intent. It was rare for it to have a solemn expression on its face, and it restrained its monkey nature as it walked up the stairs. 3,000 steps passed in the blink of an eye, but it was enough to ascend the Mount Meru that was billions of zhang tall. The mysteries within were indescribable. Just when the Monkey King stepped on the last step, it saw an ugly Buddha with an angry look on his face. The Buddha raised the staff in his hand and glared at the Monkey King. "Skunda!" The Monkey King exclaimed in shock. Its expression was solemn. The Monkey King was lawless. Ever since he caused havoc in the heavenly river, there weren't many deities in the three realms that were worthy of his attention. This guardian deity was one of them, and he was one of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of Spirited Mountain. His martial arts skills were extremely high, and he was comparable to the spirit officer Wang. But now he had died here, so the Skunda Bodhisattva has also perished. The Monkey King was horrified. What exactly happened in this spirited mountain? Although the Skunda Bodhisattva was still glaring at it, the Monkey King could tell that he was already dead. His soul had returned a long time ago, and all that was left of him was his remnant consciousness. It reflected in the void, and it created a strange and dangerous atmosphere. It was the remnant consciousness of the Skunda Bodhisattva after his death. But for someone as powerful as the Monkey King, even if the Skunda Bodhisattva was still alive, the Monkey King would just laugh it off, let alone the remnant consciousness. But the Monkey King could see something from the remnant consciousness. Through the eyes of the dead Skunda Bodhisattva, the Monkey King saw an indescribable black shadow coming towards him. The Skunda Bodhisattva in the remnant consciousness could only let out an angry roar before he died in the blink of an eye. He was killed by that person. He had no strength to fight back. Until now, the remnant consciousness was still roaring, Saijian. Since the Skunda Bodhisattva is here, then where is the Sangha Bodhisattva? The Monkey King took another 10 steps forward and indeed saw another guardian Bodhisattva who was on par with the Skunda Bodhisattva, the Sangha Bodhisattva. Not only was there the Sangha Bodhisattva, but there were also Main, Sanskrit, Heavenly Drum, Ta Miao, Tan Mayamo Miao, Late In, Shitsi, Miao Tan, Fan Xiang, Human Voice, Buddha Slave, Songda, Vimmu, Miao Yin, Che Ting, Che Shur, and the rest of the Sangha Bodhisattva. All of them had died in battle at the entrance of the Great Lane Monastery. The shadows that the Monkey King saw at the bottom of the stairs were their shadows. The main gate of the Great Lane Temple was tightly shut. Wukong stood in front of the gate and looked at the guardian Sangha. who had either died without a complete corpse or had died of exhaustion. Wukong then looked at the Sangha Bodhisattva, who had a peaceful and lifelike face. He could completely imagine that after that person killed Skanda, the Sangha Bodhisattva came to stop him and was also killed by that person. Chapter 9:33. Monkey King slowly pushed open the gates of the great Lane Temple and stepped into the most majestic hall of the spirited mountain. The golden glazed tiles beneath his feet reflected the Monkey King's 3 feet tall figure. Some people said that these glazed tiles were made from gold and the 7 treasures. Because they were stained with Buddha's blood, they became mystical. On the glazed tiles, there was a line of footprints that led straight to the hall of the temple. On the dark golden glazed tiles, only this line of footprints was left with the original color of the glazed tiles. One could totally imagine that the mysterious person walked all the way here and stained the great Lane Temple with blood. Only the position under his feet was not stained with Buddha's blood. The Monkey King raised his head and saw the source of the Buddha's blood. A great Arhat opened his eyes and stared at the void in front of him. His eyes were filled with disbelief. On his forehead, there was a broken golden horn that pierced through his skull. The horn had 3 prongs and was shaped like a deer's horn. There was a golden glow flowing on it. It was unknown whether it was left behind by the heavenly dragon or the divine deer. The Monkey King could feel the powerful aura left on the broken horn. It was not inferior to the Bull Demon King's 6 sworn brothers that he had captured. Trash! The Monkey King looked at it in disdain. I can kill it with a single strand of its hair. Another great Arhat's head was separated from his body. There was still a smile on his face, but the peaceful smile had become extremely hideous. The Monkey King looked at him and suddenly shouted, "I recognize this Arhat. He seems to be the joyful Arhat of the 18 Arhats of the Spirited Mountain. Unfortunately, the joyful Arhat can no longer be happy." After the Monkey King walked past, he slapped his forehead and said, "Then the first Arhat must be the sitting deer Arhat. Where did his deer go? No wonder I couldn't recognize him. The first is the sitting deer Arhat, the second is the joyful Arhat, then the third must be the carrying bull Arhat. Could it be that the murderer killed according to the order of the 18 Arhats? Or when he broke through the great Thunderclap Monastery, did the 18 Arhats attack him in order?" Indeed, not too far away, the Monkey King saw the corpse of the alms bowl lifting Arhat. He was still holding the alms bowl high up in the air. Before he attained Tao, he used the alms bowl to beg for food from all living beings. After he attained Tao, Buddha Rulai forged this alms bowl for him. It was an extremely powerful magical treasure that weighed as much as 5 mountains and 3 islands. It could store water from the 4 seas and suppress demons and devils. But now, a clear palm print had appeared on the metal bowl. The palm print left an inch-deep mark on the almost indestructible iron bowl. The Arhat raised the bowl to block the man. Although the iron bowl blocked the man's palm, the Arhat did not manage to block it. Instead, the Arhat's golden body was shattered by the force of the dragon elephant. That was why he remained in the posture before he died. Dark golden Buddha blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. Now that it had already dried up, it looked exceptionally terrifying. Arhat Toda, Monkey King continued to walk down, and sure enough, he saw a tall Dara man whose chest had been crushed by a 7-story pagoda. Arhat meditating. Goku's tone became stern. He took 2 steps forward, but he only saw a shadow sitting on the ground on the glazed brick. Even the golden body has been reduced to ashes. The Monkey King looked at the golden dust beneath his feet. It was this golden dust that formed the silhouette sitting on the floor. This is bone ash. Following that, the corpses of other Arhats appeared one by one. The Arhat who crossed the river with his legs broken. The Arhat who rode on an elephant with his chest pierced through by an elephant's tusk. The Arhat who was bitten by a wild beast. The Arhat who had half his face gone. The Arhat who had his hands pierced through his chest, the Arhat who was slapped on the wall of the great Thunderclap Monastery, and the Arhat who was covered in a layer of bone ash. There was also the ear-digging Arhat, baggy Arhat, banana Arhat, long-browed Arhat, gatekeeper Arhat, and taming dragon Arhat. Monkey King walked past them one by one, and all of them died horribly. Eh, isn't this the Dhritarashtra of the East? Why aren't you guarding the southern heavenly gate for the Jade Emperor? What are you doing here? The Monkey King suddenly exclaimed when he saw the corpse of the Dhritarashtra holding onto the broken pipa. The remnant consciousness of the Dhritarashtra's corpse replied, Sun Wu, great emperors equal to heaven. What are you doing here? The Monkey King smiled. That Jade Emperor can't bear to see me roam free and unfettered. So he passed down a decree for me to assist the Spirited Mountain in quelling the rebellion of the 8 protectors, the Kinnara Demon King. I came to the Spirited Mountain to discuss things with the Bodhisattvas and Arhats I'm familiar with. Who would have thought that I would see such a scene the moment I entered? How could I not come in and take a look? The corpse of the Dhritarashtra said, Great emperors equal to heaven. This isn't a place you can afford to offend. Listen to my advice. Stay far away from this matter, and don't come any closer. That isn't up to me. The Monkey King said, Dhritarashtra, what are you doing? You're not dead yet? Although the 4 of us are guarding the southern heavenly gate, we left a Sambhogakaya in the Spirited Mountain out of consideration for our origins. They're the 4 great Vajras. Now that the Sambhogakaya has weakened, this tribulation has nothing to do with us anymore. The remnant consciousness left behind this sentence and was about to disappear. The Monkey King quickly shouted, Don't die in such a hurry. Let me ask you, who is the one who killed you? Leave behind a message before you leave. The remnant consciousness of the Dhritarashtra had already disappeared and disappeared. The remnant consciousness of the Verpka said, Monkey King, don't shout anymore. My big brother won't answer you. We can't say anything about this matter. If we do, we will be caught in the tribulation. I'm afraid that even the Dharmakaya of the southern heavenly gate won't be able to escape unscathed. His Majesty can protect us once, but he can't protect us twice. The 18 Arhats, no matter how powerful they still sigh. The Verpka sighed and didn't say anything else. He disappeared along with the remnant consciousness of the other 2 heavenly kings, not giving the Monkey King any chance to persuade him to stay. The 18 Arhats and the 4 great Vajras. Sigh. The Monkey King counted with his fingers and was shocked. That's not right. Where did the tigers subduing Arhut go? Wait, 11 Dayao true lords. Why did you guys die here too? The Monkey King continued forward and saw familiar faces. The 11 Dayao true lords had an awkward expression before they died. The remnant consciousness of the celestial lord Shui Dekhen groaned. It was Tying primordial lord who had a good temper and explained to the Monkey King, Don't worry about us. We are just here to make up the numbers. Go forward, there are still the 5 directions diviners and the 500 Arhats, as well as the Vajrahan Bodhisattva, the Void Bodhisattva, the Infinite Will Bodhisattva, and the Sandalwood Bodhisattva. The Solar Emperor had a bad temper and sneered, Monkey King, why didn't you come from the cloud rising crossing? The receiving Buddha and the Golden Apex Deity are still dead there. Even the receiving Buddha is going to die. How can we not die? On the other side, Fire Virtue Star Lord hurriedly interrupted him. Solar Emperor, don't stay here and watch the show. Let's die quickly. Chapter 934. Wukong sighed and said, I don't know what kind of murderer he is, to be able to force the 4 great Vajra to surrender and accept death. The 11 great radiants did not dare to turn around and talk too much. The 2 Bodhisattvas fell dead in front of the door. 17 of the 18 Arhats were killed by him. Only 1 tiger-subduing Arhut disappeared without a trace, making it difficult for people to know the inside story. Tying Primordial Lord also told me that 6 Bodhisattvas and 500 Arhats died in front of us. He's really an unparalleled devil. He's about to flatten Mount Ling. The Buddha's body was bleeding and the Arhats were in trouble. This thunderclap hall was filled with countless evil and ominous things. Only Monkey King's abilities could allow him to come and go as he pleased. He continued to move forward, and sure enough, he soon saw 500 Arhats sitting cross-legged outside the Hall of Great Strength, looking like they were waiting to be slaughtered. Their golden bodies were shattered, and their souls were nowhere to be seen. There were still the corpses of the 6 Bodhisattvas in front of him. They were all easily killed and did not even have the strength to fight back. Along the way, Monkey King saw the Skanda Bodhisattva and the Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva outside the mountain gate, the 18 Arhats outside the second gate, the 4 Vajras outside the mountain gate, and the 11 Dayo not far from them. Now that he was outside the Hall of Great Strength, he met 500 Arhats. The corpse of Bodhisattva was lying on the steps of the Hall of Great Strength. It could be considered to be half outside the door and half inside the door. What a great thunderclap temple! Inside, there were layers and sections, halls and halls. Only after reaching the hall of the Ursa Major was Lord Buddha's seat. Wukong looked into the hall and actually saw Lord Buddha's figure. He took in a deep breath and thought, that bastard did even kill R'lyeh? There was a corpse every 10 steps in the Hall of Great Strength. These were the venerables Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva, and Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva. Monkey King could tell that they were not killed by the murderer, because the venerables and Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva were much weaker than the Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva. However, there were signs of a fight in the hall. The sword and spear marks on the corpses were similar to those of the 18 Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva. That person must have barged in all the way here. The sacred Buddhas of Mount Lingshan put up layers of defense, so those powerful Arhats and Bodhisattvas died at the front, forcing these third-rate soldiers to hide at the back. Later on, those powerful Arhats and Bodhisattvas all died. When the murderer came here, he didn't even look at these scums, but went straight for old man R'lyeh. That's why the people behind him killed all the venerables and good women here. Monkey King sighed and went straight to the lotus seat where R'lyeh was sitting. A terrifying aura that made one's heart palpitate circulated around R'lyeh's Dharmakaya. It was immeasurably dignified and extremely dignified, and its fur was vivid and lifelike. The corners of the Dharmakaya's mouth curled up into a smile. Wukong looked at it from head to toe, and only then was he sure that the villain who had flattened Spirited Mountain actually hadn't harmed R'lyeh's Dharmakaya in the slightest. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in the Hall of Great Strength, which was already like an Asura's killing field, who could be sure that R'lyeh Buddha had already perished? Even so, Monkey King was still not sure. After looking for a long time, he suddenly made a face. Seeing that R'lyeh's Dharmakaya did not react, he then said, could it be that R'lyeh really died and went to the Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva beyond the Buddhist Blue Bodhisattva? Otherwise, why didn't he open his eyes to see his disciples being slaughtered? But the reaction of the 4 heavenly kings and the 11 great stars was too strange. Moreover, the murderer did not even blink his eyes when he came here. He did not even touch R'lyeh's Dharmakaya. There must be something fishy going on. Monkey King concluded. He walked to the back of R'lyeh's Dharmakaya and quietly took off his pants, wanting to soak himself. The hair clone that was left in front saw the smile on R'lyeh's Dharmakaya's face gradually disappear. Wukong hurriedly fastened his belt, jumped down, and said, there is indeed a ghost. Old R'lyeh, don't play with me anymore. Speak. What exactly happened on this spirited mountain? I, old son, was sent by the Jade Emperor to investigate. Monkey King raised his rod and asked. As soon as the name of the Jade Emperor was mentioned, R'lyeh's Dharmakaya's hand gesture changed. The hand gesture in front of his chest suddenly pointed to the right. Monkey King looked over and saw that the right was where the sutra depository was. He said in a daze, Buddha R'lyeh, why are you playing riddles with me? If there's anything, just tell me. Fine. I'll go take a look. He walked straight into the sutra depository and saw that many of the janitors and venerables were killed. There were countless scriptures in the sutra depository. Some were carved on stone tablets, some were books, some were leaves, some were silk, some were paper. Monkey King even saw some in bamboo slips. There were probably billions of books in such a huge sutra depository. Goku was overjoyed when he saw this. He didn't even care about tracking down the murderer and repeatedly shouted, good fortune, good fortune. The murderer who flattened Spirited Mountain did not take anything, but left behind countless benefits for Old Sunday. The Great Thunderclap Monastery has been storing scriptures for billions of years and has gone through thousands of tribulations. I, old son, Don't like anything else but reading. This is a great fortune. It immediately rummaged through the chests and cabinets, wanting to sweep away all the books in the 3 collections. It was afraid that the wind would blow and damage those fragile books, so it only plucked out a few hundred of its hair and came down, putting the billions of books in the Sutra Depository Pavilion into its sleeve. There was more than one floor in the Scripture Pavilion. Wukong walked one floor and rolled another. When he reached the top floor, he saw a small room. Inside, there were bedding and living facilities. It was a meditation room. Wukong walked in and took a look. It turned out to be the place where an old monk lived. The old monk was so old that his eyebrows touched the ground. There was no sign of life on him, and he was dead. Just when Monkey King was about to leave, the old monk suddenly said, "Monkey King, you are here." Monkey King asked curiously, "Who are you?" "All the monks and Buddhas in this monastery are dead. Why are you still alive?" The old monk laughed. "All the people and Buddhas in the monastery are dead. The one who is alive is obviously the murderer." Monkey King wasn't surprised. He laughed. "No, you are not alive." The old monk laughed. "Monkey King, I'm talking to you, and you are saying that I am not alive? The 4 heavenly kings and the 11 Dayo talk to me too. Are they still alive? That old man Rulai even gave me pointers. Is he still alive?" Monkey King laughed. "You are living in the past. Now, you're already dead." "Ha ha ha ha." The old monk laughed. "Monkey King is Monkey King after all." "That's right. I am already dead." The old monk said faintly, "But I didn't die in the hands of the murderer. I died 1,000 tribulations ago. I am the Buddha of the past." "So you're Dipankara Buddha?" Monkey King had cultivated a quantum primordial spirit. He could calculate everything in the world with a single thought. Naturally, no memory could escape his primordial spirit's search. Dipankara Buddha died 1,000 tribulations in the past, so you are already dead. Of course, the murderer wouldn't kill a dead person. No, a dead Buddha. Of course, you won't tell me who killed so many people in Mount Numinous. I have seen too many strange things this time. The 4 heavenly kings didn't dare to tell me. The 11 Dayo didn't dare to tell me either. Buddha Rulai talked in riddles with me, as if the people who died had nothing to do with him. However, everyone in the Great Thunderclap Monastery was dead. If the 4 heavenly kings and the 11 Dayo only died once, it would be understandable. But those bodhisattvas and arhats didn't fake their deaths. They really died. So what are you guys thinking? Monkey King frowned. Dipankara Buddha laughed loudly and said, "Wukong, you are wrong. They won't tell you, but I will." Only then was Wukong frightened. "You're not with them?" Chapter 935. Monkey King played with the metal rod in his hand and said calmly, "Dipankara Buddha, you must be joking. Buddha was the venerable Buddha of Mount Numinous in the past. How could he do such a shocking thing? I don't dare to believe it. The billions of bodhisattvas on Mount Numinous don't dare to believe it either. Moreover, I saw Skanda and Bodhisattva Jalan fight to the death, but their faces were filled with rage. If it was the Buddha himself, they should have died with looks of disbelief. But on Mount Numinous, there are those who fought to the death, those who died helplessly, and those who were in terrible states. However, none of them were shocked. It was obvious that everyone on Mount Numinous knew the murderer, and they weren't shocked at all. Monkey King, Dipankara Buddha said, "Don't you know that you are blinded by a single leaf? You placed too much importance on my identity, but neglected me. Putting aside my identity as Buddha, Dipankara is just an old monk. Putting aside my looks, what difference does it make to all living beings in this world? In my eyes, all living beings are the same. In the 3 realms, I am the only one. The holy Buddha is just an old man. Gods and Buddhas can't save all living beings. Buddhas can't cross the sea of suffering. Who can transcend the suffering, accumulation, destruction, and Tao of the world?" Dipankara Buddha smiled and said, "In the past, the Venerable asked me if I wanted to separate good and evil in the cycle of reincarnation. All living beings would transcend because of good karma. The good would enter the good path, and the evil would enter the evil path. I answered him that we were all rolling in the mud. So why should we compare who is cleaner? He asked me what Buddha was. Guanyin replied that Buddha was the lamp of all living beings and the golden bridge of Permitha. I just smiled and said that Buddha was nothing. Buddha is an enlightened being. If Buddha can save all living beings, then Buddha can also kill, destroy the world, and sink into the sea of suffering. Because these are all troubles. It is all caused by fate. Those bodhisattvas all talk so much about Lianhua and how great they are. However, the greatness of all living beings is just the troubles of Buddha. What does it have to do with me? I just treat it as if it is caused by fate. The Bodhi Samsara hammer is just a delusion and trouble. He laughed at me for becoming a Han, but he did not know that I was poisoned. Everyone knows that he is Guanyin, but does Guanyin know who he is? I think he knows. Monkey King laughed. He doesn't even know whether he's a man or a woman, so how would he know who he is? He was just the goddess of mercy in the eyes of all living beings. It is vexation, ignorance, cause and effect, but not the enlightened one. Dipankara Buddha put his palms together and sighed. The closer we are to God, the further we are from Buddha. Only when all my worries are gone can Bodhi be born. The Monkey King was shocked after hearing Dipankara Buddha's words. He whispered, I believe you now. You are the murderer. You are not only the murderer, but also skyless. Dipankara Buddha smiled and shook his head. I'm not skyless. I'm just Randang, a bright lamp that lights up in my heart. It's peaceful and quiet, and all my troubles are gone. Skyless is just a wisp of my troubles. Because I saw the stubbornness of the revered one of the world, anger rose in my heart. Due to fate, a strand of delusion was born. It was the wrath of all the gods and Buddhas that destroyed the chaos of the revered one of the world. After that, I went beyond the heavens and met the revered one of the world. Only then did I realize that the revered one of the world had already left, leaving behind only the troubles of the people. Fate arose without a name and became Tathagata. Tathagata is not the revered one of the world, and Skyless is not me. They are just our cause and effect. Fate arises and falls, that's all. Because of a single thought of mine, Skyless massacred Spirited Mountain. That's why I said that I was the one who killed them. You saw your disciples and grand disciples die because of you. Could it be that you are so indifferent? Goku said in surprise. I feel very guilty. Dipankara Buddha laughed. Monkey King didn't believe him. Do you feel guilty? Dipankara Buddha nodded. Really? I feel very guilty. But guilt is just vexation. That's why I don't care. Skyless destroyed everything, but Dipankara has already died. Dipankara Buddha laughed. Monkey King, thank you for coming to see me for the last time. You're an interesting monkey. To be able to see an interesting monkey like you before I die, and not the troubled bodhisattva hammer. It's really a blessing. But the vexation you left behind is really a great misfortune for the three realms. Monkey King sighed. Monkey King, Dipankara Buddha said, I only have 18 unresolved karma, and they are all vexation. Since my vexation hasn't been resolved, I shouldn't have left. But the revered one of the world left behind his vexation, karma, and turned into Tathagata Buddha. So what if I leave behind some distracting thoughts? After I die, I will leave behind 18 relics. Each one of them is an unresolved karma. Skyless is the biggest relic. It's my heart of destruction because my sect has become paranoid. My 18 karma are all related to the Buddhist sect. If you can find their origin, you can end them. This can help you find the origin of Skyless and end this vexation. After saying this, Dipankara Buddha didn't care whether Monkey King agreed or not. However, the smile on his face gradually faded, leaving behind a black-robed figure and 17 sariras. The black-robed man looked at Dipankara's nirvana, and there was only a hint of a smile on his face. Monkey King asked, could it be that you are Skyless? The black-robed Skyless smiled. I am Skyless, and also Biji Buddha. Protector Janara, Dipankara, Ancient Buddha. Then you should already know your identity? Monkey King questioned. Dipankara Buddha said that you are just his vexation, which is why you want to destroy Mount Numinous and rule the three realms. What did he say that I want to rule the three realms? Skyless asked. That's not important. Monkey King smiled. Since you have destroyed Mount Numinous, then the world will definitely accuse you of ruling the three realms, because everyone will think so. If you don't want to rule the three realms, then do you want to destroy Mount Numinous because you have nothing better to do? What do you think about what Dipankar Buddha said? Monkey King asked him. Skyless suddenly laughed. Why? You don't believe what he said? I believe it, but my reason tells me that things should not be that simple, because I can't find any trace of my master's intervention. He is a person who wants the world to be in chaos, a person who can cause a huge tsunami without any trouble. How can he not exist in the karma that Dipankara Buddha said? I don't believe it. Your master? Skyless said in disappointment. Immeasurable heavenly lord? Skyless' tone was a little inexplicable. He said lightly, Dipankara Buddha is just my past. The past cannot be chased. What can be chased is just a shadow. Just like now, it will eventually fade away. He is my fate, the manifestation of karma. Not everyone can see their own past and talk about it in front of their own eyes, so I just looked at him and finished my words. Then I bid farewell to the past. He wanted to prove that he was not an illusion and deceived himself. The destruction of the illusion was his death. He refused to admit that I was his future, because once the future is determined, the past has no meaning. We are essentially the same people, happy to deceive ourselves and believe what we want to believe. So, it was you who killed everyone in Mount Numinous. Monkey King pointed his iron rod and questioned. Skyless nodded slightly and smiled. I walked up from the bottom of the stairs, laughing at the holy Buddhas of Mount Numinous, as if they were facing a great enemy. They trembled in fear and were killed by me casually. Even the immortals of the heavenly court were afraid of me and used their Sambhogakaya to face the calamity. They wanted me to have no reason to attack them anymore. Only pagoda-bearing heavenly king, who was a man, did not use his Sambhogakaya to deal with me. But he did not dare to come, because they all knew that this time, no one on Mount Numinous would return alive. Why? Monkey King asked. Because Rulai's golden body came back to life. Skyless said lightly. After Rulai entered destruction, his golden body changed from time to time. There was even a shocking change the day before yesterday. His golden body attacked and killed Medicine Glaze Buddha. Moonlight Bodhisattva and Sunlight Bodhisattva saw it with their own eyes and were almost scared out of their wits. They fled in panic, and the other bodhisattvas and arhats followed. They felt that Rulai entered destruction to stop Sanskrit, but he was no match for the demon from another realm. He could not even keep his body, and became a tool for Sanskrit to infect the three realms. Under the entanglement of Sanskrit and Rulai's true thoughts, Rulai's golden body became a spirit. It became a corpse. So, they wanted to use me to clean up Mount Numinous, or at least seal the ominous thing, because I was the only one who saw Brahman and came back alive. I was the only one who still had self-awareness after being infected. I was also one of the few in the three realms who did not fear Sanskrit. So, they could only hand Mount Numinous to me, and then... Chapter 9:36. The Monkey King pondered for a long time, but in the end, he did not make a move against Wu Tian. First, it was because although there were great changes in his trip to Spirited Mountain, his original intention was only to test the waters. Now that he had found out that the waters were bottomless, he had already succeeded. When he returned, he had to think carefully about whether he should reject the Jade Emperor and not get involved in this mess. Second, no matter how many crimes Wu Tian committed, it was the trouble of those bald donkeys. What did it have to do with him? Why did he need to pick a fight? Third, the Monkey King saw traces of his unscrupulous master's involvement in this mess. The Monkey King had learned from Chenong for a long time, and he was no longer the innocent and ignorant monkey he used to be. He knew that his master was extremely black-bellied. If he got involved rashly, he would definitely be tricked. This matter was dangerous and unpredictable, so the Monkey King had to be careful. Also, the Buddha's golden body gave him an extremely strange feeling. When he first saw the Buddha's golden body, he already had a very strange feeling. Now that Wu Tian had pointed out its secrets, the strangeness was even more shocking. The medicine-glazed Buddha's identity was unspeakably noble. He was one of the top 3 figures in Spirited Mountain. He was originally the Buddha's Dharmakaya of Emperor Donghua. However, it was hard to say which one was the main identity of Emperor Donghua, the medicine-glazed Buddha or the Emperor Donghua. Moreover, the 2 bodhisattvas that the medicine-glazed Buddha served, sunlight and moonlight, were also bodhisattvas with extremely powerful magical powers. They were second only to the 4 great bodhisattvas and several bodhisattvas with special identities such as Maitreya and Mahastamaprapta. The Monkey King did not believe that such Buddhist masters would be almost scared out of their wits by a Buddha's Dharmakaya. Something must have happened that the Monkey King did not know. This muddy water is getting deeper and deeper. Even I, old son, who knows how to swim, have to be careful not to drown in it. Wukong sighed. I have a feeling that my black-bellied ancestor is preparing to set me up. The Monkey King mumbled. He gave Wu Tian a friendly smile and left the sutra depository. He was ready to go back and settle the score with the Buddha's Dharmakaya. The bald donkey is not Old Sunday. Let the heavenless demon go. Tomorrow, I will quit the job that the Jade Emperor forced on me. Returning to my Mount Huagua to continue my experiments, wouldn't that be carefree? Back in the Mahavira Hall, the Buddha's Dharmakaya on the lotus seat was still smiling. It was as if it had been smiling and looking down on the world of the 3 realms since ancient times, emitting a peaceful aura that was far away from the mortal world. The Monkey King dashed in front of it and chuckled. Demon, you've been exposed. You gave me directions, but I, old son, found out that the Tathagata, true consciousness, is still trapped in the colorless realm, in the colorless void. It won't show its spirit at all, much less give me directions. The Monkey King waved his metal rod and threatened. Tell me, where are you from? How dare you pretend to be the Buddha to fool me? If there's any ambiguity in your words, I, old son, will serve you with my metal rod. Raising my head to the heavens, I illuminate the universe. Not moved by the 8 winds, I sit on the purple golden lotus. Your Buddha is merciful. Praise your Buddha. The Buddha's Dharmakaya changed his hand into a Dharma seal and shamelessly sang the name of Buddha to praise himself. The Monkey King pointed his rod at him. Your shamelessness is very similar to my master's charm. Monkey King, you are really bold and mischievous. Real-eyed Golden Body smiled and said, How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? Do you know that if it wasn't for your master, immeasurable heavenly lord, stopping me, you would have been suppressed by me when you caused a ruckus in Mount Tai Divine Court, and the Jade Emperor sent a decree for me to help. Now that you have escaped with your life, not only did you fail to be cautious with your words and actions, you even caused trouble and acted presumptuously in front of me. Do you know who I am? The Monkey King laughed coldly. You are a corpse demon born from realized corpse. Sun Wukong, you have been blinded by your obsession. You are already obsessed with the truth. The Buddha's Dharmakaya said, I am Venerable Muni of Sakya of the Western Pure Land of Ultimate Bliss. Because Zhenru is outside the colorless realm, casting a spell to subdue the demons, I was afraid that Mount Numinous would be disturbed and demons would sneak in to cause trouble. Thus, I left behind a thought to protect Mount Numinous Saint Realm. Therefore, I am Rulai is me. The Monkey King bared his teeth. Do you think I, old son, don't know? You killed Medicine Master's glazed Buddha light Rulai, so everyone in Mount Numinous thinks that you are a demon. Because they don't want to harm the Buddha's golden body, they allowed you to cause trouble here, allowing heavenless old devil to find a loophole and attack this great thunderclap monastery. You're birds of the same feather as him. That's why you're doing nothing as you watch so many Buddha's descendants get killed. If Shakyamuni Buddha were here and saw his disciples and descendants get slaughtered, would he still be able to sit on his lotus throne? You still want to lie to me? As the saying goes, if you listen to both sides, you will be enlightened. The Buddha's golden body smiled. Monkey King, where did you hear these words from? The Monkey King put his hands on his waist and smiled. Half of it was heavenless who told me personally, and the other half was my guess. The Buddha's golden body shook his head. Ridiculous, ridiculous. You actually believe him and not me. He is the murderer who killed everyone in Mount Numinous. How can his words be trusted? The Monkey King said, Your words do make sense. What do you have to say for yourself? The Buddha's golden body said, Monkey King, if you think that I am a demon, then you are wrong. I was originally a thought of Rulai, and even though I was tainted by Brahma and fell to the mortal world, I still retained the temperament of Sakya of Buddha Muni. Brahma struck down my realm and caused me to fall from Rulai's realm, so I couldn't protect Mount Numinous and sit on Rulai. Therefore, I needed to reincarnate and regain my purity. After cleansing myself of the contamination by Brahma, only then could I become a Buddha again and restore Rulai's realm, protecting Mount Numinous until Rulai's realm defeats Brahma and returns to the three realms. But before I reincarnated, that medicine master glazed Buddha suddenly made a move and killed my reincarnated body, Xiao Ling Er. The Monkey King frowned. Medicine master glazed Buddha is the Buddha of the East. He has a high status, so why would he harm you? Brahma is powerful, and he thinks that my Rulai's realm won't return. If that's the case, why would he keep me a hindrance? He was the celestial emperor Donghua of the celestial court, a subject of the same palace as me, so his status is not lower than mine. Future Buddha, I belong to Maitreya, so of course he would be unhappy. Moreover, the Dharma realm of Mount Numinous was tainted by Brahma, causing the Buddhas to be filled with demonic thoughts, so it's no surprise that they would make a move on me. The Monkey King continued to question, Then how did you kill him? And why did you kill him? Of course, I had the Jade Emperor to help me. If Celestial Emperor Donghua controlled Mount Numinous, would he still be able to be the Jade Emperor? Also, Monkey King, you are a smart person. Is it the corpse that I left behind that turned into a corpse? Or is it the medicine master glazed Buddha who wants to kill Buddha, which is more harmful to Mount Numinous? Jade Emperor. The Monkey King's face was filled with disbelief. Why, you don't believe me. You have underestimated the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor seems to have never displayed his powerful magical powers and powers. He only showed off his authority to rule over the three realms. Even a young monkey like you dares to act rashly in front of him. But this is actually only because if the Jade Emperor needs great power to rule over the three realms, then the foundation of his rule itself is shaking. Therefore, he would rather rule over the three realms with rules and authority than show his power. The golden body of Tathagata sighed. What you said seems to make sense, but this is not the reason why you ended up in this state. The Monkey King laughed coldly. Tathagata sighed. Monkey King, why don't you think deeper? If not for the Maitreya Bodhisattva's permission, how could the medicine master, glazed Buddha, kill my reincarnation? You have to know that after Tathagata perished, it was the Maitreya Bodhisattva's time. If there is another reincarnation of Sakyamuni, why would he need the Maitreya Bodhisattva? The Monkey King's face was filled with shock. He could not accept what the golden body of Tathagata said. Tathagata sighed. Therefore, I don't blame him. After Sakyamuni died, it was time for the Maitreya Bodhisattva to descend. Therefore, I am here now. And you, Monkey King, I'm just saying these things. I am just grumbling a little. You are right. I am Tathagata, but I am not Sakyamuni Bodhisattva. When the Brahma golden body was tainted, I was no longer me. Why are you telling me this? The Monkey King was confused. The golden body of Tathagata smiled, because in this world, there is still one person who can prove that I am Tathagata. He can help me. The Monkey King thought for a moment and replied, If I am not wrong, that person is me. It's you, the Monkey King. Only you have the 17 relics left behind by the ancient Dipankara Buddha when he died. Only you can help me to reincarnate. As long as you find my reincarnation, a spirit child with swastikas on his back, and gather the 18 relics left behind by the Dipankara Buddha, I will be able to get rid of the Brahman's interference. I will be able to attain Bodhi and become Tathagata. At that time, my Jinru will not be completely separated from the three realms. Only then will I be able to defeat the Brahman. Monkey King, Only you can save the three realms. You should be the victorious fighting Buddha. I feel like you are tricking me. The Monkey King said suspiciously. Why did things turn out this way? It sounds like something my master would do. Who knows? He might be hiding somewhere and using me as an experiment. Monkey King, don't be so paranoid. The golden body of Tathagata's left hand suddenly changed into the dauntless seal. Its right hand stretched down naturally with its fingertips hanging down and its palm facing outwards. It was the Wish and Wish seal. The two seals were released at the same time, and there seemed to be a sacred world in the palm, pulling the Monkey King into it. Chapter 9:37. Divine light burst forth and shook the entire Mahavira hall. The golden body of Buddha raised his hand in front of his chest with his fingers stretched out naturally and his palm facing outwards. This represented the Buddha's benevolent wish to save all living beings, to make all living beings feel at ease and fearless. There were three secrets in Buddhism: the body secret, the mouth secret, and the mind secret. They were represented by magical powers, which were the mudra, mantra, and the body of Buddha. It was the application of the infinite magical powers of Buddhism and the concrete manifestation of the great Dharma of Buddhism. Guanyin, Samantabhadra, and the other bodhisattvas used the lion mudra, vase mudra, internal and external binding mudra, vajra mudra, and lotus mudra to communicate with the universe, displaying the infinite magical powers and magical powers. When the few bodhisattvas were trapped in Mount Zhongnan by Chenong, they had displayed the powerful power of the mudra to reverse time and space, overturn the universe, and even change the three realms. Unfortunately, they met Chenong and were sent into time and space for 500 years. They were lost in the river of time and were rescued by Buddha after going through all kinds of hardships. These were only the more common mudra in Buddhism. The application of the mudra had nothing to do with magical powers and magical powers. It was only related to the great wishes of Buddha and Bodhisattva. Therefore, it belonged to the magical powers of Bodhisattva's Mahayana path. Once the mudra was formed, it symbolized all the wisdom, power, wishes, and actions of Buddha and Bodhisattva, spanning the past and future. For the strong practitioners of Buddhism who were proficient in the Tao of time and space, once the mudra was formed, not only did it contain the present power of Buddha and Bodhisattva, it also contained the past and future Dharma power of Buddha and Bodhisattva. It was a magical mudra that transcended time and reached the fourth dimension. For example, when Guanyin made the mudra, she in the future became Buddha and became Buddha. When she made the mudra, not only did it contain the great power of Guanyin, it also contained the infinite magical powers of Buddha and Bodhisattva. It was a magical mudra that spanned the past and future and encompassed the universe. Although the golden body of Rulai had fallen to the state of Rulai, he used his hand mudra to represent all of Sakya Buddha's wisdom, strength, will, and actions from the past and future. He also used his own mudra, one of the 5 mudra of Sakya, which symbolized the seal of fearlessness of Buddhism to enlighten all living beings. Just as the handprint connected the past and the future, the entire Great Lane Temple seemed to have become independent from the long river of time. The scene of countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas standing under it and listening to Tathagata raising his hand to preach appeared faintly. However, it also seemed to be extremely dilapidated and the Dharma had withered. The scene of the Great Lane Temple being obliterated in history and turned into ruins appeared. It was as if the past and future of the temple were presented at the same time. This was the power of the seal of no fear. In the beginning of the Sutra of Tathagata Buddha, there were many grand sayings. The number of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, and Devas were like the grains of sand in the Ganges River. They were arranged in the Great Lane Temple like the stars in the sky. This was the memory of the temple in the past. Now, the past, the present, and the future were all mixed up here. The power of these deities and Buddhas who listened to Buddha's preaching were all gathered in the seal of no fear. Even a monkey king felt insignificant when facing this power. At the same time, the great Lane temple that was in ruins appeared. The Buddhas had already disappeared, and the Dharma had been destroyed. The hall of great strength that was still resplendent today was only left with broken walls and endless desolation. A few blurry figures stepped into the ruins of the hall of great strength and reminisced about the past glory of this place. "Is this the great Lane temple?" Someone whispered. "The legendary sacred land of Mount Spirited, the place where all the Buddhas preached. Only a few pieces of wreckage are left. The age of Dharma has ended." Someone sighed. "It's the age of Dharma now." The few blurry figures looked towards where the Monkey King and the golden body of Tathagata were, and sighed. This should be the center of the hall of great strength. In the past, Tathagata used to preach here. Countless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, great figures that we can't even imagine, were listening below. That was the glorious age of Dharma. Suddenly, a voice exclaimed, "Look, that position seems to be emitting a golden light. This is the Buddha light. Could it be that after the Buddhas of the age of Dharma died, some relic was left behind? Or could it be the change of the age of Dharma? The Great Lane Temple actually experienced a shocking change? It's most likely that the relic of Mount Spirited has been unearthed. The Buddhas are dead and the gods have perished. Now that the relic has appeared, could it be a sign that the era is coming to an end? There's most likely a great fortune inside." Someone egged them on. After a while, they seemed to be able to see the golden body of Tathagata and the Monkey King. They all exclaimed in a trembling voice, unable to control themselves. Someone else whispered, "The dignified Dharma, sitting on the lotus throne of the Great Lane Temple. Other than Sakyamuni Buddha, who else could be worthy of such a position? Who's the one waving the stick at the Buddha?" Hairy-faced, thunderous mouth. "It's a divine monkey. Could it be the victorious fighting Buddha, the Monkey King? We seem to have found out some incredible secret. It's most likely the truth behind the disappearance of Mount Spirited in the ancient times. That Buddha formed the fearless seal with one hand and the wish seal with the other. It can't be wrong. That must be Sakyamuni Buddha. Why would the victorious fighting Buddha wave his stick at Sakyamuni Buddha? This seems to be the reappearance of the past through an illusion. I saw the corpses of the 4 great Vajras. There's even the Skanda Bodhisattva standing at the entrance, roaring with all his might. What kind of shocking change had happened to Mount Spirited in the past? Is this the scene of the end of the age of Dharma? Dead. They're all dead. The 500 Arhats are dead. Even the 8 great Bodhisattvas are dead. No, there's no sign of the 4 great Bodhisattvas. They didn't die here. The history of the destruction of Mount Spirited has been covered up, but is it going to reappear today? This is a shocking secret. It might contain the answer to the destruction of the previous era. The change in Mount Spirited, the reappearance of the age of Dharma, the truth behind the battle between the Monkey King, the victorious fighting Buddha, and the Buddha. What about the ruins of the Celestial Court? Someone sensed the aftershock of the clash between the cudgel marks and the ripples of power that passed through countless dimensions. He said in a trembling voice, "The Gautama Buddha was unimaginably powerful in the past. To think that the great sage equaling heaven could fight against him alone. Who won this battle?" Facing the punch of Rulai that gathered the past and the future, including the power of all the deities and Buddhas of the 3 realms, the Monkey King didn't have the time to care about those little bugs. His fighting spirit was raging, his quantum primordial spirit operating at full force. He was close to going crazy. The iron stick was condensed with infinite mass. The aftershock of the clash of the two was enough to transcend the barriers of time and space, the energy colliding, passing through time, and arriving in the past. At the Dharma assembly of Rulai's Dharma, an Arhat was hit on the head. He fell off the lotus platform. The scattered energy scattered everywhere, messing up the Dharma assembly. But this Dharma assembly was just ordinary. The lowest level participants were deities. The lower level deities couldn't even get close to the Mahavira's hall. The rest of the participants were all powerful deities and holy Buddhas. Even if they were affected by the energy waves, they would only be in a difficult situation. But in the future, during the end of the age of Dharma, the loss of energy would be fatal. Chapter 9:38. This is the power of Sakya's 5 seals. It transcends the past and the future, traversing through time and space. Someone exclaimed, Sakya's 5 seals are Dharma seal, Sure Wu-Wei seal, Dhyana seal, demon subduing seal, and wish seal. Take a closer look at the hands of that terrifying Buddha statue. His right hand is raised high in front of his chest, while his left hand is open and hanging naturally at his waist. If you're lucky enough to see the statues of Sakya in the Middle Ages, you can often see this kind of hand seal. Its power can almost penetrate the past and the future. I'm afraid we've unintentionally barged into the world of spirited mountain formed by the Sure Wu-Wei seal and the wish seal. The clearer the great sage, heaven's equal and Buddha Tathagata appear in our eyes, the more it proves that we're getting closer to them. It's not their battle that broke the time and space. It's Gautama who dragged down the river of time. We're just innocent fish and prawns in the river. The past and the future are getting closer to them. Gautama wants to drag back the glorious past of the great Lane Temple and let the past bodies of the countless deities and Buddhas return to their battlefield. That way, the Monkey King will have to face the past bodies of all the deities and Buddhas of Spirited Mountain. A young man with a jade-like complexion said with conviction. The group of transmigrators whispered to each other and discussed among themselves. An old man shouted angrily, Nonsense! The past can't be changed, and the future can't be fixed. Even Gautama Buddha can't change the past, let alone let us transmigrate back to the past. This is the power of the 2 seals of Gautama Buddha to create this world. He changed the laws of time and space of the great Lane Temple, allowing the past, the present, and the future to coexist, the young man said calmly with disdain. However, the transmigrators were starting to believe him. Only the elder bit the bullet and said, These are just the reappearance of the remnant illusions of the past. At this moment, the Monkey King roared, Old man Gautama, you've brought the Dharma bodies of the deities and Buddhas of the past to the present. It's hard to say whether they'll attack me or get rid of a demon like you. Tathagata merely muttered his sage name in a low voice and said indifferently, Sun Wukong, you evil creature. You've killed your way into the treasure palace of Spirited Mountain and killed so many good and virtuous people. The Monkey King's face turned black and his killing intent was ignited. He didn't care anymore and brought out his full strength, determined to kill this demonic Buddha with his rod. He bared his canine teeth and roared at the sky. He wielded the star stabilizer divine metal with greater and greater force, as if 18 neutron stars were forming a complicated celestial system. Every moment, the surging force in the void was like the turbulent waves of space folding, the collision of infinite forces. The tremendous gravitational force that distorted space could even be traced back to the time dimension, causing the quality of the river of time and space that Tathagata had dragged down to change drastically on the timeline. The few transmigrators did not even make a sound before they were torn into elementary particles at the atomic level by the tremendous gravitational tide that suddenly surged. The group of transmigrators were so scared that their faces turned pale. A burly man scolded the old man. Is this the illusion of the past you were talking about? Why don't you give it a try yourself, you old bastard? The young man replied calmly. It's useless. The distance in space is meaningless here. They're separated from us by a huge time scale. Now, this time scale is being shortened by the power of Sakya's 5 seals. When we arrive at the time when the Monkey King and Rulai are fighting. No, we don't even need to arrive at that time. As long as we get close to that time, we will be vaporized from the 3 realms by the aftermath of the battle. Is this the power of the ancient deities? Someone almost collapsed to the ground and said with a trembling voice, It's too scary. But everyone was more worried about their own lives. Someone hurriedly asked, Then how do we know that we're about to arrive at that time? The handsome young man replied calmly, Of course it's the power of the Monkey King's iron rod. The closer we get to the time, the stronger the power that we can feel through the barrier of time and space. Of course, the danger is also more terrifying. But more intuitively, it's those people. The handsome young man pointed to the other side. The transmigrators could see that in the distant past, in the grand realized Dharma assembly, a group of deities and holy Buddhas were already on standby. Many magical treasures and artifacts were taken out, and a few high monks even conjured Buddha's light to protect the small deities from the gravitational tides that occasionally tore through time and space. They were just waiting for the barrier of time and space to be broken. Then they would swarm in and kill that brute monkey. When did these people get ready to attack? They're about to arrive at that time, the young man said slowly. The transmigrators looked at the so-called luxurious lineup of thugs in the realized Dharma assembly, and their faces turned pale. Someone tried to curry favor with the young man and said, "Senior, do you have any way to escape from here? I'm willing to lend you a hand." The young man shook his head slowly and said, "There's no way. Didn't you see that even the Monkey King couldn't break the power of Sakya's 5 seals? That's realized seals. Who dares to say that they can break it?" The old man who was despised suddenly raised his hand and said weakly, "The Monkey King can't, but he still has a master." "Are you talking about Golden Cicada?" Someone mocked. "That's the second disciple of realized Buddha. But in the end, he's just a Buddha of sandalwood merit. He's also realized disciple. How can he break the realized seals?" "I'm saying that the Monkey King has a mysterious master." The old man shrank back and said, "My sect's orthodoxy has been passed down since ancient times. In the ancient records, before the Monkey King wreaked havoc in the celestial palace and was conferred the title of heaven's equal emperor, he once became the disciple of a mysterious expert. His master might be the most ancient and mysterious heavenly lord of Taoism, the immeasurable heavenly lord. No, it's obviously Patriarch Subodhi. Where did this immeasurable heavenly lord come from?" Someone scolded. Someone else said, "The immeasurable heavenly lord is not an honorific title. It's just a description of a heavenly lord's blessings, power, and boundless merit. It's another title for heavenly Lord Dara. The immeasurable heavenly lord is just a title that those Taoists imitated from Buddhism, imitating the Buddha title of immeasurable longevity Buddha." Among the transmigrators, there was even a Buddhist disciple who criticized Taoism. "Stop talking," the old man said angrily. "Are you going to talk, or am I going to talk?" Everyone was suppressed by his imposing manner, but there was really nothing they could do. They could only quiet down and listen to him. The immeasurable heavenly lord is extremely mysterious. Although my sect is not very influential, it is the most orthodox descendants of the ancient Taoism. It used to copy Taoist scripture from the source of Taoism, Luguan Dao. That's why many ancient scriptures have been passed down. Many of the Taoist scriptures, especially the 7 secret chapters of Lord Xian left behind by enlightened Wenshi Guanyin, which is also known as the true Wenshi scripture, clearly recorded a heavenly lord who once discussed Tao with Laozi. Laozi passed and left behind 5,000 words of Tao Te Ching. That mysterious heavenly lord left behind a few words, which became the source of another branch of Taoism, the Yangzhu sect that had been lost. Although enlightened, Wenshi seemed to have some taboo and did not specifically mention that heavenly lord, according to the research of an even older ancestor of my sect, the mysterious heavenly lord who came out of seclusion with Laozi was the most ancient and mysterious heavenly lord of Taoism, the immeasurable heavenly lord. Enlightened Wenshi even mentioned in his notes that he discussed Tao with 2 heavenly lords, another disciple of the Taoism's ancestor, the Monkey King. This mysterious Taoist, Wukong, might be the great sage, heaven's equal. In the most ancient and scattered chapters, there are words such as stone monkey and green bull. The Monkey King is actually the disciple of the Taoism's ancestor. He's a disciple of the Taoism Heavenly Lord and the Immeasurable Heavenly Lord. Isn't it said that Heavenly Lord Dara is one of Laozi's 9 Heavenly Lord incarnations? This person knew that Heavenly Lord Dara was another name for the Immeasurable Heavenly Lord. Nonsense. Taoist Monkey King is also worshipped by our sect. He is indeed one of the ancestors of Lu Guandao and is an ancient immortal. What does he have to do with a monkey? Someone from the Taoism retorted. Nonsense. There is no such thing as the immeasurable heavenly Lord. It's all fabricated by the later generations. An old pedant blew his beard and glared. The burly transmigrator's face turned red. He suddenly interrupted. All of you, shut up. After everyone quieted down, he glared and asked, does the existence of the immeasurable heavenly Lord have anything to do with our escape? Can we ask him to show mercy and save us? The most important thing right now is how to escape. He turned his head and asked the young man who had repeatedly shown his profound knowledge. Brother, your knowledge is extraordinary. You can actually see through the clues of Tathagata Sakya's magical power. May I know your name? Do you have a way to fight it out? As long as you can give me a way, as long as there is the slightest hope of escaping, I won't complain even if I lose my life here. Chapter 9:39. The group of transmigrators looked at Chun-Ong expectantly. Chun-Ong frowned slightly, as if he was deep in thought. The others didn't dare to disturb him and could only stand guard at the side. They didn't want the shock waves to fly over and turn their only savior into minced meat. Chun-Ong pondered for a long time before relaxing his brows. He said to the crowd, the only thing we can do now is to fight with our lives on the line and make use of the Monkey King's power to tear open the river of time and space that is obstructed by the Rulai Dharma seals. This is the battle between Tathagata and the great sage, heaven's equal. What is trapping us now is the power of the Tathagata Dharmic seal. In that case, only the great sage, heaven's equal, can break the 5 Buddha seals and save us. We have to help the Monkey King to break the distorted time and space here. I believe he doesn't want to see Rulai guiding that even more ancient deity here. If we can lend a hand and make time and space return to normal, that will be our only chance of survival. Chun-Ong sighed emotionally. When the others heard this, they couldn't help but admit that this was indeed the only way. However, the Tathagata Buddha and the great sage, heaven's equal, have reached an unprecedented realm. Compared to them, we're just ants. How can we be of any help? Someone voiced his doubts. How can we influence the fight between these two great gods? Chun-Ong smiled and said calmly, we can only make use of our only advantage. If we don't have the power to change the chess game, we can only make use of the situation. Coincidentally, we are all from the future. Only by making good use of this point can we use the power to change the situation. At this moment, someone among the transmigrators exclaimed. It turned out that the battle between the great sage, heaven's equal, and the Gautama Buddha had caused another shocking change. Sun Wukong let out a loud roar that tore apart time and space. A quantum spiritual light, erratic cloud stepped under his feet. Instantly, the spiritual light was erratic, reversing time and space, reversing the relationship of time, changing the determinism of cause and effect, and changing the past. In the ancient past, during the spiritual Mountain Dharma assembly, a divine stone fell from the sky and smashed into Mount Meru, landing in front of the Tempest Temple. The divine stone was gold in color and as big as the sun. When it fell into Mount Meru, it instantly evaporated 700 miles of the colored glass sea, crushing countless monks to death. Within the divine stone, a divine fetus could vaguely be seen. It curled up in the stone, and the faint golden fetus seemed to contain the power to shatter the void. The transmigrators looked at Chun-Ong, hoping that he could give them an explanation. Chun-Ong said in a low voice, "Incredible, incredible. As we all know, the great sage, heaven's equal, was born in the East Seas Ally Nation around the spring and autumn period. The Great Lane Monastery's Rulai Dharma assembly had already begun countless tribulations ago. This great sage, heaven's equal, actually wants to tamper with his own past and overwrite the timeline of the Rulai Dharma assembly. If the divine fetus was born, it would immediately become the Monkey King's past body. Then, even if the deities in the Rulai Dharma assembly weren't afraid of him, they wouldn't be able to interfere in the battle between the Rulai Dharma assembly and the Monkey King. Within the divine stone, a divine fetus was hatched. It had the appearance of the Monkey King. As soon as it was born, it could fight against the world, kill the deities, and brandish the divine stone fragments to fight its way up the spiritual mountain and into the past. This is unbelievable. The transmigrators were shocked. Such a powerful character was truly terrifying. His strength was unfathomable. This kind of shameless method of dragging his past self over to gang up on his opponent had met a heaven-defying expert who could break through the void and distort the past, allowing him to be born in advance. He was truly a tyrannical expert who disregarded the karma of time and space. Facing the ferocity of the stone monkey, the ancient Rulai and the current Rulai changed their madras at the same time. They twisted their thumbs and middle fingers, and the other fingers naturally relaxed as if they were rotating. This was one of the 5 seals of Sakya, the Dharma seal that represented Buddha's teachings, Dharma seal. The Rulai golden body rotated, and the mysterious Dharma theory, the power of time and space that came from the seal of wishes and the seal of fearlessness, started to rotate further, freezing the time and space of the Tempest Temple, causing the time here to undergo an unimaginable change. At the instant when the concept of time changed, the meaning of movement and speed underwent a fundamental change. The meaning of movement and speed underwent a fundamental change. The tyrannical and tyrannical divine monkey suddenly became sluggish and lost its ferocious might. The entire world was like a huge piece of amber, and all of the energy was frozen. The transmigrators could only look at Chenong, who explained, Rulai Buddha's magical power is truly monstrous, and his divine abilities are boundless. It's unbelievable. The Monkey King can fight against 10,000 people alone without fear of being ganged up on. It's because he can mobilize a powerful force that can shatter the void. He has endless mass, and therefore endless energy. No one can win against him in terms of pure power and energy. Therefore, no matter how many people swarm him, they will only be able to disperse their power, allowing him to defeat them one by one. But Rulai is Rulai Buddha after all. He took drastic measures and changed the time dimension of the Tempest Temple. When time changes, speed changes. Without time, speed doesn't exist. Without speed, energy doesn't exist. The so-called energy and power are actually the correlation coefficient that speed exerts on mass. The reason why the Monkey King has unparalleled power and endless energy is because his mass is infinite, and he can control space. The spatial change of mass is energy. Therefore, the Monkey King has almost mastered the law of energy. Now that Rulai has taken drastic measures and distorted the time dimension, it's impossible to calculate the correct speed. Look, the Monkey King's past body can't attack anyone in the Rulai Dharma assembly, because their time is always 1 second faster than the Monkey King's past. Therefore, energy and power become completely meaningless. And when time shrinks towards the present, the gods and Buddhas of Spirited Mountain will also arrive at the present 1 second earlier. At that time, Rulai will be able to drag that mere second to thousands of mountains and rivers. Do you believe me? No matter how powerful the Monkey King is, it's hard for him to attack something that is 1 second faster than him. The young man Chenong sighed. Then someone asked hesitantly. It's meaningless to us. Chenong said plainly, don't think that it's just 1 second. The power of Sakya's 5 seals can completely control time. For different frames of reference, time is different. The reason why everyone thinks that time is universal and not special is because we are all in a similar frame of reference. However, for Tathagata, he has the ability to differentiate our frames of reference. For him, every object exists at independent time. Chapter 940. You've said so much, but how are we supposed to escape from here? Someone asked impatiently. The Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, and 3 begets all things. Chenong said calmly. In many Taoist scriptures, it is believed that yin and yang were born from the primal chaos, and then yin and yang were born into 3. However, this is a huge fallacy. It is said that all things are muddled, but never separated. It describes the early days of the universe, when matter was muddled and never separated. It is a state where matter melted into a pot of porridge and never cooled down. It is a state of extreme heat and expansion after the Big Bang. This is in line with science. Yin and Yang were born before the primal chaos. One is Qi, and that is matter. The meaning of this sentence is that matter was born in the early days of the universe. When matter was just born, it already had the properties of Yin and Yang. This is called symmetry. The balance of symmetry caused matter to be in a state of chaos and was unable to form a world. It was only until this state of yin and yang symmetry was broken spontaneously that the phenomenon of symmetry breaking spontaneously occurred in matter. Yin and yang were unable to maintain a balance, and only then did two beget three, and all things were formed. Senior, the transmigrators were confused. They asked anxiously, "What's the use of saying all this now?" "It's useful," Chun Ong said calmly. This sentence is not only about the process of the birth of the universe, it is also a summary of the laws of physics. The entire world is still in a state of balance between yin and yang. When the balance between yin and yang is broken, the symmetry of the fundamental particles in matter will be broken. And to be more specific, it is the essence of matter, qi. Through this process of one begetting two begetting three, it displays its basic properties. Therefore, it can be deduced that all the basic properties of qi are displayed through the changes of yin and yang. Only by understanding this sentence can one understand the essence of Monkey King's tyrannical power. In this fierce battle, the essence of power displayed by Buddha Tathagata is the high-dimensional time, while the essence of power displayed by Sun Wukong is mass and energy. The two are unified. Energy is a relatively physical concept. Many ancient texts and cultivators believe that energy is an objective existence like matter. Actually, this is completely wrong. Energy is the description of the movement of all macroscopic and microscopic substances. The essential attribute of substances is motion. Space, time, energy, and speed are all attributes that are born relative to motion. Energy is the description of the movement of all macroscopic and microscopic substances. Without motion, there would be no energy. Therefore, Buddha Tathagata was able to create time distortions and change the attribute of time. In turn, he affected motion, changed speed, and changed energy. The higher the speed, the lower the energy. We're talking about the essence of power that the Monkey King demonstrated: mass energy, mass, and energy. In fact, the origin of all things is qi, which is matter. Matter itself doesn't have any spontaneous mass. In other words, qi has no mass. The quality of all matter originates from the interaction of yin and yang, the division of yin and yang. To be specific, the Higgs field causes spontaneous symmetry breaking and gives mass to the gauge propagator and fermions. The quantization of the Higgs field excites the Higgs particle, which acquires mass through self-interaction. This is the concept of the source of mass when particles are the essence of matter. In the three realms universe, another state of matter, qi, acquires mass through void qi, Higgs field. Void qi pervades the void and is omnipresent. When all qi passes through void qi, it creates obstacles due to the interaction of yin and yang. Yin and yang are divided into two forms, and two becomes three. This causes the spontaneous symmetry breaking, which means the balance of yin and yang is broken. It affects the substance of qi and creates gravity. Therefore, void qi can also be called the quality of qi. Taisu is the beginning of quality, and void qi is Taisu qi. The Monkey King controls Taisu qi, so he can control mass and distort time and space. In the three realms, the quality of all qi is essentially the interference of Taisu qi. For example, qi that manifests as light has very little interaction with Taisu qi. Therefore, it has almost no mass. As Chenong explained, he used the basic symbols of the 8 trigrams, yin and yang. He used the 8 trigrams in China classical mathematics to deduce and translate the modern mathematical formula of the Higgs mechanism. He used mathematical language to explain the process of obtaining mass more accurately. However, from the expressions of the transmigrators, his efforts were in vain. In short, the Monkey King can change the quality of all chi by changing the quantum activity of gravity through the process of 2 becoming 3. Therefore, even a beam of light can accelerate to the weight of MT Tai in his hands. If Rilai didn't have the past of the Tempest Temple, the deities and Buddhas in the Rilai Dharma assembly would definitely not be a match for the Monkey King. Chun Ong explained, the most basic property of matter is motion. Based on motion, all properties, including mass and energy, will be affected by time. Therefore, the Monkey King cannot break the power of Sakya's 5 seals. Only by finding the property of matter that is not affected by motion can we see the level of the material world that is not affected by time. That is the eternal existence in all the 4-dimensional space-time. Then surpass the Sakya's 5 seals and defeat the Buddha. Is the quality not good enough? A transmigrator who is knowledgeable asked, the gravitational force produced by mass is essentially the distortion of time and space. If the mass is large enough, it should be able to tear time and space and destroy the Tempest Temple world isolated by the Sakya's 5 seals. No, Chun Ong calmly rejected. The nature of the space-time that Rilai controls is motion. The nature of the space-time that the Monkey King controls is gravity. The priority of motion is higher than gravity. Therefore, the authority that Rilai has to control time and space is higher than the Monkey King. It can easily eliminate the influence of gravity on time and space. To surpass the Sakya's 5 seals, one must surpass the 4th dimension, surpass time. That is because the Sakya's 5 seals have reached the essence of time. No one can compare. Then what is the eternal existence in all of time? The keeper asked, his voice trembling. Chenong sighed. Time is the 4th dimension. Each dimension is the sublimation of the one before it. If you want to be unaffected by time, you must be below the 4th dimension, closer to the essence of time. Imagine, in a 3-dimensional world without time, what would matter be like? Wouldn't that be a storage pouch? Someone said, trying to be clever. A space where time never flows. Matter still has shape, mass, and color. Other than not changing, there shouldn't be any difference. The other transmigrators agreed. Idiots, Chenong snorted. Is this the 3-dimensional world you imagine? First of all, without time, there is no motion. Without motion, there are no properties based on motion. What do you think the motion of matter is? Motionless means there is no motion. Motionless matter is constantly in motion. Without motion, the energy that makes up matter has no yin and yang. No 2 becomes 3. Particles have no spin, no interaction. There is no mass, no energy, no shape. Matter exists only in its most basic properties. Not even force exists. All physical quantities, temperature, length, speed, all vanish. The only thing that exists there is existence itself. That is the essence of matter, existence, or rather chi.